Good afternoon, everybody. How are we doing? Happy Monday. Yes, I forgot to press start streaming. I know, Tomato King. It's only literally been a decade that I've been streaming, and I still forget to do... I was literally having a wee when I checked Discord and saw that Deacon was like, did you forget to click broadcast? And yes, I did. Anyway, we're now live, which is good. So, I mean, that's the start, right? That's the sort of bare minimum of what we're aiming for. Let me just transition. 07, I need the lights on as well. There we go. 07, everybody. Let's see who's here. JJ, Samsman, Zealous, Griff, Dimitri, Ukami, and Sketo. 07 YouTube. Rucken, thank you so much for the 40-month resub. Beers and party, please. I will get to that in a second, Xanth. I will get to the Evo test. It hasn't begun yet. It starts in about an hour. It starts at 3 o'clock. I was hoping I couldn't remember what UTC and BST was because we're in British summertime. GMT is UTC. We are an hour forward, so an hour back. So it's like, I thought it would be starting at 1, so I'd have a quick bit of time to play, but it doesn't start for another hour. Oh, damn it. Anyway, and it's Eva County, so as you know, I can't show anything. I can't stream it, so it's not like we can see what all this stuff is about. But we will speak about it today. And if anybody in Evocati is taking part in the tech preview test that starts in about an hour, running for about 4 hours, looking at Vulkan and FPS AI behavior improvements, you can talk about it. You can't show it. You can't, show any gameplay or footage or screenshots or audio. But you are free to talk about your experience as an Evocati now. So, if you are taking part in it while I'm streaming, let me know, please. Deacon, Piss Poor Pete, Sandsman, how are we all doing? Apoc, Ralthan, Jones, Rhino, pardon me, jeez. Evo Caddy, City Gamer, Azrin, Jack, Ghost Killer, welcome. The Wartime CEO, Tomato King, Sizen, Mighty Stewed, Marcon, Slave Gunner, Skipper, Rucken, of course, Danger Hobo, and Daylight Fire. How are we all doing today? Carl, welcome. Gene, welcome. S7. So quite a lot is going on. Quite a few things are happening right now, and actually, I've managed to keep up with them. Mostly because I'm back in a bit of a I need to absorb everything starcitizen mood, which is nice because it's been a while since I've been like that. So I've been working on off time, if that makes sense. I know you can talk about it now. I know you can talk about it now, but I will continue to use that command until the end of time. Which one's that? Oh, the Evo Club. Yeah, that's true. How annoying that they've actually changed the rules and we can talk about it. Oh, I never thought about that. Daily coffee, mighty. It's all important. Nexus, welcome. Are you doing the daily? Are you taking over the daily grind for Deacon today, Nexus? Poor Deacon has been slaving away on the live build. He did another 9-hour shift yesterday with the org in the Revenant, just hoarding more boxes. Kudos. And thank you, Nexus, for taking over, mate. If anyone is, in the org and wanting to do some more of the resource grind, Nexus is in his Polaris, I think it is, isn't it? Helping out. 85,000 plus standard cargo units have gone through you guys, through the org. Deacon Jr., I like that. the younger and better looking. So last night you sent all of your AUC to a friend who wants to buy a Scorpion. Scorpius. And I went back to Pyro to be shipless, living in the carcass of a Drake Herald. Oh, music to my ears, Gene. How are you getting on with that? That sounds beautiful. Volos, S7, so thank you so much for the 4-month resub. Beers and patty, please. Charlie Mike, how you doing? So the tech preview. So let's talk about that first. That is dropping at 3 o'clock my time. It's now 2:15, so in about 45 minutes. It's hard to know exactly what it is or what it entails. All we know right now is it's a 4-hour test that's kicking off at 2 p.m. UTC, which is, again, 3 o'clock now. Standard Evo NDA, and this test, it says, will focus on 2 tech updates, the main Vulcan and FPS AI behavior integration improvements. Now that sentence, I don't know if it is intended to be like that. The main Vulcan and FPS AI behavior integration improvements. So by main Vulcan, does that mean... I know they say they were waiting for a bigger build before they rolled out any more code base Vulcan stuff. Is this Vulcan in its essential entirety, which would be able to replace DX11, or is it a significant update of Vulcan, hopefully with this performance improvements that they've been speaking about for a while, with still a little bit more to do later on? I don't know. I'm hoping it is the entirety. I don't know how much is needed to be done. So it's the significant update, not the entire thing. So hopefully it is... If that is the case, then hopefully it's, yeah, multi-threading. Oh, I see. So, well, what I mean by Vulcan, as in, what I mean by the main Vulcan, or the entirety of Vulcan, is the API that is able to replace DX11. I'm not expecting things like global illumination, ray tracing, and so forth, stuff like that. I'm just expecting, is this the Vulcan API now to replace DX11 with things like global illumination later on, and all these other bits bolted on post this? You know, that's what I'm asking. That's what I'm wondering. Rickan, Wartime, thank you both so much for the resubs. Beers and party, please. Thank you very, very much. But from what I gathered from dev comments, it's 90% of the Vulcan implementation from Squadron moving over. See, now, if that is the case, if it is this, you know, multi-threading, which is essentially what they have been sort of saying is going to bring a lot of performance improvements. Not for everybody. It is going to be very much hardware dependent. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the people who are currently CPU bound. So if you have something like a 9800 X3D, you're not really going to see much of a significant improvement. Whereas if you have something a little, you know, something capable of multi-threading, but not really as high-end as that. Like mine, for example, my 10900K, I'm hoping to see some pretty decent performance improvements. But again, it's not going to be everybody, but I think it should essentially be the majority from what I understand. But I don't know. It could, yeah, it sounds like it, Griff, the Squadron Vulcan build. And yeah, they'll be doing it, so we'll talk about the FPS stuff in a sec, but they'll be doing this in a tech preview to keep it isolated from the main build so that it's not going to be... you know, breaking anything, keeping the integrity of the main build, the live build there. Don't think it will be a 4.3 drop though. It might not. Like you know, they said they're going to wait until a more significant build, so a 4.3 would class as that because it's a proper quarterly build. Jonas, welcome back, sir. Thank you for the follow. Have you taken a break? Or is it a different account? But it's... it could be that their test... I mean, it could still slot into 4.3 if the testing is minimal that they need. It could be in a 4.3.1 if it is, you know, the 4.3 code base that they want to slot it into. But you could be right. It could be 4.4, 4.5. It could be something later on. It really depends on how much testing is needed, how ready it is right now. It could go either way. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Deacon. It's, you know, you guys have been grinding that resource event for a long while, and it's so rinse-repeat that I'm not surprised you're all a bit like, I'm done. I've not even played it that much, and I'm kind of a bit over it already. Jermuckinus, thank you so much, firstly, for the follow earlier on. I forgot to mention that, but thank you so much for your subscription as well, sir. That is very much appreciated. How are you doing today? And thank you for joining us. Yeah, I'm kind of hopeful it'll be a 4.3.1, but we'll see. It depends on what they're aiming for. Changing my temporary base from one station to another. I enjoy the process of moving all my stuff, organizing. I bet it's quite a hefty trip, though, Vol. Most people are CPU bound, but they are specifically limited by main thread performance, not render thread, which is what Vulkan changes. What does that mean then, Tomato King? Astro Monkey, welcome. I do love when my globals are illuminated. Yes, me too. I love it when your globals are illuminated. So the weather updates, ray tracing will bring some... Well, yeah, you know, at the end of the day, the game looks incredible. There's definitely improvements to be made in all areas, you know, visually, like we see with the new biomes, lighting, global illumination, ray tracing, all these other elements. That'll just make the game look insane. In comparison to what it is now, I mean, you know? And getting Vulkan in pretty much enables those other elements to start rolling out. Like, we can't get them until Vulkan is here, but yeah, it's not likely to come with it. Thank you, Gene. Squeak, welcome. I'd like to see this be playable on lower spec systems. I can play this on my Lenovo Legion Go, getting up between 15 to 25 FPS in most places. It'd be cool to... Yeah, I know they are intending to, obviously... And in fact, we'll speak about this a bit in the monthly report, but performance and optimizations, that has now shifted to be the main focus, especially for the R&D team, which, as I say, that's pretty much the essence of what they say. The R&D team are the ones that have been, for month after month on the monthly reports, working on the clouds, for planetary clouds, gas clouds, you know, not gas clouds, but volumetric clouds. Now, it seems that work is done because the clouds are looking fabulous, and they've moved on solely to performance and optimization. So this could be partly, you know, the work that they've been doing this last month in July, pushing all that along with the graphics team to try and just optimize. Now, at the end of the day, the performance in Star Citizen is actually a lot better since server meshing came along. Since 4.0 came along, performance, client performance, has definitely improved, especially beyond, you know, well, at LZs, but also more, you know, more away from LZs. But they're nowhere near done yet when it comes to optimizing, so and performance. So it is just going to get better. And now that they are, you know, the R&D team are solely focused, exclusively focused, I think it said, on improving performance and optimizing the game, we should start seeing a lot of that throughout, well, for the foreseeable, it says. It says for the foreseeable. That's their goal, that's their priority. Which is, I'm sure we can all agree, amazing that we all need it. And I guess a lot of it will be for Squadron. It'll also transition to the PU in some way, and they will continue to optimize while they work towards 1.0 and beyond. Sejanus S7, thank you for the follow, welcome. Binks S7, sir. It means the performance improvements in terms of FPS will be small and even unnoticeable for some, even though they are CPU limited. Right, so it's more about multitasking rather than actual client performance, like stalls and other things, maybe. You're shy about your globals, are you? Last person to see them fully illuminated almost threw up. Talking of throwing up, poor Summer is, well, we all came, as you know, we all came down with a bit of a, I think it was a chest infection, because that's what the swim teacher got, even though she was still there performing and taking the class. So Summer has only just started to get over this chest infection. She's got a horrible cough. And then we went out on Saturday, because it was her little gym class, and I think she picked up a tummy bug, because she was outside, just sat on our little garden furniture and just threw up. Poor thing, was so scared. And her temperature was super high last night. Today she's much better though, thankfully, but she's still got a cough, poor thing. Talking of throwing up. Quantum Kit, how you doing? 7. Yes, it is Azrin. Yeah, starting at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. You got a 1080 Ti, have you? Well, there's definitely a lot more they can do to bring optimizations in. I know they've spoken in the past. Usually, you know, I used to say it wasn't that long ago, but it is now, where they were testing on mid or low-end PCs specifically to try and see what gains they can get. But that was quite a while ago. That was pre 4.0, so I don't know if they've brought in already any benefits there. Jedi, how you doing? Welcome. You remember seeing a sub 5 server FPS regularly, where a long wave... Oh yeah, you know, at the end of the day, now, very rarely do I see the FPS for the server drop below 20. Most of the time, if I ever do check it, it's at 30. Not to say it doesn't drop, of course it does, but yeah, I very rarely see it go down. PTU, that's a different thing altogether then. Yeah, since 4.0 came along, fair enough, it had a lot of teething issues, but since then, it's just become so much better in terms of performance, both server, both client. It is way better. Oh, is that you, Fall? Thank you for your subscription, mate. What's with the name difference? Ah, okay. UK in the US. That makes more sense now. You'll have to keep reminding me that it's you, because I will forget. All these names, you know, Discord, YouTube, gaming, Twitch, or in-game. Oh, Jedi over there as well. How you doing? What gives welcome biggest tip is when starting a ship MFD. Do you know, what's very strange is, not necessarily in terms of, like, server performance, but for me, UI can really impact my client performance, my FPS directly. Sometimes certain, like, MobiGlass apps just rip, or when I go into looting, it just rips my frames away, and it takes forever to recoup. So annoying. Thank you for the hype train, by the way, guys. Your FPS tanked the other day, restarted game, changed servers, couldn't fix it, restarted PC, and boom. How strange. Do you know, last night, that video that I put out last night, which was... Oh, it was about 4.3, the builds and the tech preview tests. I was uploading that, and I had about, from like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I had 3 different uploads going. The checks, for some reason, just got stuck, and I ended up having to reboot my PC just before bed and upload it that way, and it worked fine, and it went straight up, which was why it went up so late. But yeah, throughout the whole evening, I was uploading that, and I don't even know why it was doing it. So annoying. Oh, so you're hoping Vulkan will help with cooling your PC down, Vol? I don't know if that's... I mean, I don't know. It could do. It could help in terms of, you know, not having every CPU just explode. That would be nice. Deplorable, welcome. Black Norton, welcome. You're yet to see anything that kills FPS like the Polaris bridge. The Polaris, yeah, is just... I just want to avoid it. Whenever... Since taking out the Idris... Flawless FPS, not a problem at all. The minute we start messing around with the Polaris, though, and I blame APOC, the minute we start using the Polaris, it's just hell. My frames just tank. I'm assuming it's to do with optimizations for the ship, I don't know. Booley 07, Mr. Derp 07. Know what I'd love to see? When you're on the menu, it lets me know what region my friend is on. Oh, I see. Yeah, that would be kind of helpful. So you know if you would like to commit to it or not. That's a good call. Doctor Who in town. How you doing? Welcome. Yeah, I just blame you, APOC. It's fine. So anyway, this tech preview test, Vulkan, or main Vulkan, isn't the only thing they're working on here. I am very excited, first and foremost, just to see what this Vulkan update is. And if it is multi-threading, then that is a big win. If it is essentially the Vulkan API ready to take over from the old renderer, then even more exciting, because it just paves the way for all that good stuff. And hopefully I can get my PC in time, so that when we switch over to, you know, Vulkan with global illumination and all this other stuff, it'll just be a perfect timing build. But also, with this new playtest, FPS AI behavior integration improvements. Now, when it says FPS AI behavior, I am assuming it might not mean combat. It could mean just on-foot AI behavior integrations, but I think the chances are it is referring to FPS stuff. And in the monthly report, there's word about having the NPCs capable of performing bounding overwatches. They've done a lot of stuff with cover navigation, nav mesh stuff. I mean, even in this monthly report of late, it's talking about... Well, that's spelled wrong. No, I'm not sure if it's got anything to do with the whole social AI aspects of it, because they have been working to push the social side of NPCs at landing zones to make... They did a vertical slice recently internally where it was essentially just showing how they want a landing zone to be, where it's... you go there and it's bustling, it's a living, breathing environment. NPCs are going about their business, doing things, interacting and talking, and essentially just what it would look like in the finished product. That's what the vertical slice was intended to do, so that other designers internally or developers can kind of grasp where they want to get to and keep that bar there. But with it saying FPS AI behavior integration, I feel like it might not have anything to do with that. It could be a lot of the stuff that they have put into Squadron, like Vulcan, with AI, coming over to the PU. And they want to test it in an environment that is, multiplayer, sort of MMO style, but without, keeping that integrity. So it could be a lot of stuff, to be fair. And I suspect it's quite a lot of AI stuff, and not just a specific, let's just test bounding overwatches. Good evening, Black. How is Alice Springs? Are you in your winter right now? Must be super chilly for you. What I'm wanting to change, just allowing salvaging at outposts with abandoned ships. I start crying because I see... Yeah, you need to be really tactical with moving them without getting a crime stat, but it can be difficult. Do you know, it's a good point, Squeak, not upgrading your PC until, say, 1.0, because you can be constantly chasing FPS that is unnecessary for Star Citizen, where it doesn't matter what rig you have, you're not going to get the best because it's unoptimized. But for me personally, the reason why I've started doing it is because I want to push the video content to 4K. I want to make sure that I am getting the best visuals, cinematic shots, and so forth. But with Squadron coming out as well, that is of great importance to me. So I want to make sure that I am... And that should have global illumination and whatnot as part of it. So I was just really interested in seeing how that is, right? But 1.0 technically shouldn't be another 15 years. But yeah, you can be... If you're going to wait for 1.0, we could be talking another 5 years at the least, right? So it's likely by that point your PC will need upgrading massively. I'm hoping that with this build I can just keep upgrading without having to do a fresh new build for at least 10 years, maybe longer. But we'll see how it goes. No more cowering. I mean, they'll still cower, but yeah, hopefully the other ones will actually start fighting back properly. Your guess is this test is to see how stable their Vulcan implementation is on varied hardware in prep for a post 4.3 release. Sounds about right. Thank you, Tomato King. Mithras, thank you so much for the cheer, my friend. Beers and cheers and whatnot. Yeah, so... Like you say, getting it... It's not just having Vulcan in a multiplayer environment, but it's also having it spread outside of the internal, dev machines, which are all likely built by one company to a degree, where the variety of hardware is so different. The tactical point... what's it called, Flood? Hang on. On that note, there's a few bits in the monthly report that I actually don't know what it talks about. Or I don't know what it means. It's in the the Game Intelligence Development Team. So they prototyped the mission system version 2, but it says the streamer profiler was elaborated on, and this entity component update scheduler is a core system that determines what's in range and provides the proximity information for all streaming decisions. Is that what you're talking about? The entity component... Oh, no, hang on. You're on about something else, aren't you? Bear with me. Oh, I haven't written that bit down yet. Yeah, you're on about the tactical point system. Is that what it's called? Again, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it means, Flood. There's a lot of that stuff that's just way over my head. Raga, how you doing? It could be perception stuff, absolutely, Raga. That's the thing, I don't think it's just one thing with the AI's FPS behavior. It could be a lot of the tools and tech that they're using to help push it. It could be all these different behaviors like perception abilities, you know, problem solving as a group and communicating as a group. So the plan tonight, Black, is we're going to run through the monthly report, talking about breaking down all those sorts of things. If there's time, I'll jump on and talk and check out the latest 4.3 build. But ultimately, there's not much to check out other than, for me, things like maybe the light fighter balance, which I don't really know much about in terms of whether it's better or worse. Snow on Bloom would be nice, but yeah, there's not much more beyond that. Pretty cold, but it won't last long now. Oh, fair enough. Summer Yeti, how you doing? You're going to build a PC for Squadron, are you? Eric, welcome. Definitely seems like a good plan. If you are interested in Squadron, that's the way to go. Taco, welcome. What's the chance I'll be losing a ship between... As in ones that you've bought in-game? Probably high. Ships, components, items salvaged or bought in-game. I don't think they've fixed the problem with it going missing between patches. So... yeah, I think there's still a good chance it'll happen. Minimal damage. How you doing? Thank you for the 8 months, my friend. Beers and patty, please. Yeah, 2026. It is literally around the... CitizenCon's around the corner. I can't believe we're talking 2 months until CitizenCon. That's crazy. I know it's a digital one, but still, that's come around super fast. Ship Talk. How you doing? Thank you for the follow. G-Sharp. Interitus. Welcome, guys. The AI get points to determine what they do. Like, a crazy guy would use more points in his decision making him do different things than a worried guy. Oh, as in, like, well, I think that's kind of like they see what someone else is doing and decide that they're not going to do the same thing because someone's already doing that, so they do something else. That's a real intricate system. I can't remember much more beyond what you've mentioned there, in all honesty. About that point system. Is that what it means, then? Yeah, I hope we don't get a soul crushed. There's, I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking, like, 20 minutes now until that test goes live. So, as I say, if anyone is playing in it, please do. Please let me know. The last 2 patches didn't lose any... Really? Oh, yeah, I know a lot of people... So it's really weird when we transition to patches and this whole LTP. Some people lose things. I know I've lost a couple of things. I've also gained back, and so have other people. Things that they had originally lost patches ago. It's like there's certain things you salvaged, bought, or whatever that have come back that you'd lost in a previous patch. So it still tracks it somewhere, but then other items are missing. The fact that you haven't lost anything, though, Volos, is a good sign that there's hopefully progress being made there. Sexy Potato, how you doing? You're 7900 XTX with 24 gig of VRAM on top. All honesty, I'd go high-tier NVIDIA over it. Too many odd issues here and there. Right, okay. I mean, yeah. I'm still hoping. I've spoken to... Tengo, and he said that he'll still be sending out the 4090, but yes, the price of the 5090 is just an absolute joke. I'm definitely going AMD for the CPU. The thing you just mentioned in the monthly report is just engine profiling to help manage memory and system usage when debugging mission views in-game. Okay, thank you, Flood. What gives? Oki's got to get back to work. Yeah, sure thing, my friend. Thank you for hanging out. Max Skitty, there's Evan. Welcome. Yeah, fair point. 5090 isn't really a gaming GPU. It is more just for the processors. Vega, welcome, sir. L7, good afternoon to you. Ball, L7 as well. Are you both doing well? And Dub, good morning. It is a known bug for ships to not move... Oh, is it a known bug for ships to not move after coming back from a battle? try checking your what's it called? Your velocity or your acceleration level. So scroll wheel up on your mouse, I think it is, or whatever the button is. It might be like left alt and scroll wheel. It could just be that your velocity speed is just at the bottom. Yo, Sonny, how you doing? Oh, good, thank you. With CitizenCon coming, do you think they will push to get some good features out before the end of the year? I don't think it's necessarily related to CitizenCon. I think, like, as we know, so there's a few things to unpack with that question. We know their focus this year is stability, performance, playability, bug fixing, quality of life. As we can see in the monthly report, there are a lot of features, like actual features, that are heavily in the works. Some of them very close to releasing. You know, they're figuring out what we're going to get for crafting for the first iteration. They're working on exposing things to the player for the first time. We're looking at an engineering tech preview coming soon because they're getting it prepped. But whether any of those systems are effectively releasing to the PU Live this year, I don't know. I would hope so, and I somewhat expect so, but with it not being the focus of features and, you know, quality of life is the focus, then there's a chance that they won't. But I think they're likely working to get things ready to show at CitizenCon, and I think a lot of that stuff will be shown at CitizenCon this year. But I do hope that a lot of it will roll out as well. I'm not expecting all of it by any means, but I'm hoping we'll see engineering come along to live by the end of this year. There's a lot to do there, though, and we haven't had a tech preview yet. So it could very well remain in the tech preview for the foreseeable of the year, just because of how impactful those systems are. Flight mechanics would be nice to start uploading, to start getting in, like we're seeing with all this balance, but there's so much more to it that it's going to take a while. The other kind of interesting features, as in the video I've just put out today, I wanted to sort of break those down because there are some really cool stuff coming there. Things like the spawn changes. I don't think we're going to see the, you know, effectively logging in and out anywhere we want. I think it's just getting it working for hangar spawning first. Crafting, I feel like we could see that this year. Right now they're just re-evaluating the scope for its first public release, which could be tech preview. Again, it's a huge system, like engineering, that impacts so many different areas of the game that I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to tech preview, it remains there for a while. The new UI, inventory UI, they've said it's going to take a little while to work on. They've only just started really putting that together, so I'm not expecting that this year. Depends on how long it will take. Hacking. Now, this sounds pretty close, and it would be cool to see this come this year, but there needs to obviously be a lot of gameplay, and it impacts a lot of areas as well, like every box that could be hacked, every ship, every door. So it might not come, but it says that they've added more options to help teach players how to use this feature. So they're at the point now where they're working on a tutorial for hacking, which tells me that, you know, the actual process isn't changing too much. They're just working on a way to explain it to us. So that could be one we see come this year. But again, there's a lot of facets to it, and it will probably require a tech preview test. But the question is, how long in tech preview will these need? Engineering could be a long while. All of these could be a long while. Vulcan could, you know, on the FPS stuff, could be a long while, but it could be a shorter while if all goes well. Quantum travel updates, it just says they're still implementing these new quantum travel mechanics. No idea how long that's going to take, but the ship teams are working pretty fast with it, you know, the flight teams. So I'm hoping we'll see those roll out this year with all the different flight updates. That would be a real nice win to start being able to provide feedback on that. FPS radars and scanners, and ship radars and scanners, the whole ship, the whole signature system is, again, a huge system that is impactful across the board. So it would be very nice to get those in this year, but again, it's tech preview likely. Transport refactor, I suspect we will get this year. I don't know what's left to do, but they are beavering away on that, and I'm hoping that's something they can roll out this year with more quality of life and not just, you know, improved trains or more reliable trains, but more benefits to taking a train at a quicker, you know, to quicker locations. That would be nice. Getting out of your hab, going downstairs to the train station, and then going directly to your hangar would be nice. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. It just sounds like it might, but I'll read that in a second. So, yeah, there's quite a lot of things in the works, and that's just from the core gameplay team. There's other things we'll talk about as well. AAK, how you doing? Rasak, welcome. Oh, heaven. Oddly Bob, welcome. Yeah, Legionnaire, it'll start bringing that along. I mean, all these systems, they are kind of gating certain professions, you know? So once these start coming along, other professions like exploration, bounty hunting, and those sorts of things can actually start to come along, but also the current systems or the current professions we have can expand big time and just feel more like they're intended to. Lucas, welcome. You've had ships stop moving randomly, just found both times that your thrusters have been switched off. Yeah, with us having somewhat partial in engineering systems in the game, it is systemic as to what's happening, but there's no reason why it's happening, if that makes sense. Like, there's no reason why when you log back in again, your thrusters will be turned off, or your radar would be turned off unless you turned it off. And then trying to remember what happened is just... Yo, Locados, welcome. How long until next? I personally don't think we'll see it this year. I think we'll see an update on it at CitizenCon. Genesis. They've said that they are planning to roll that out with a full entire planet, with all of the Genesis tech, or Planet Tech version 5 stuff in that one planet. So could that be Nyx? Could it be an existing planet? It's hard to say because we don't know what biomes are to be found where, but they can all canon those or retcon those. But yeah, in terms of Nyx, I don't think we're going to see it this year personally. I think that's going to be a next year thing. I could be wrong, but that's just my own opinion on it. And hopefully early next year if that's the case. Hansi, thank you for the follow, welcome. Some crazy person built a full-scale Drake Kraken in Space Engineers, did they? Wow. I wonder where you were going with that when you said full-scale Drake Kraken. My first thought wasn't in a game, but real life, and I just couldn't imagine it. Which makes sense because that didn't happen. Was there any word on when we can expect the AI ship voice? Or was that cancelled? What do you mean by AI ship voice? Do you mean being able to talk to our ships? We kind of have that already with third-party stuff like Voice Attack and HCS voice packs. But there's no like immediate rush to get it as a official in-game thing. I've not heard anything about that for years. It's not started yet, Pablo. Welcome, mate. It starts in about 10 minutes, but I won't be playing it. So again, any Evocati out there, if you are playing it, by all means play it while I'm talking. Keep me posted. Profeta, welcome. Would like it if when you logged in your character was doing something within the verse. Like, well, it's so right now there is work going on for improving the spawning flow with the intention of getting to the point where obviously a bed is not needed to log in and out of. But I think the impression being is that your character just goes to sleep. But I suppose it makes sense that they don't have to technically go to sleep. It would be kind of cool to come back in and see them like tinkering on the MOBIGlass or something. But I don't know how that's going to work in terms of an immersion side of things because you are supposed to be the person. So I think it's more likely you will be just waking up, sleeping on the ground more than anything. But I don't know. Oh, well done, Profeta. Blimey. I still got a bit of a way to go. Oh, yeah, the original code for the transport stuff. It'll be like ripping all that out first. And then having to get to the new stuff. Balth, how you doing? Yeah, 3 months it was Pyro and the tech preview. It certainly could be. Is that guy with the glasses still at CIG? Is that a Serious question, Max Skinny. I feel like Bounty Hunting version 2, whatever it is gated behind... I wouldn't say hacking so much. I would say scanning, radars, signature system. Hacking definitely will have a part to play in Bounty Hunting, but a lot of the actual gameplay for Bounty Hunting is... oh, Doctor, thank you for the follow, by the way. Is going to be cat and mouse. So the bounty... covering his tracks, covering his signatures, you know, be that getting flagged by an ATC, stopping his quantum trail from being detectable, hiding as much as possible, whereas the bounty hunter will be using all different tools and means to track their signatures, be that their, you know, footprint in terms of where they're landing, word of mouth, ATCs, calling in where they've been seen last, or last known locations, comm relays, but also being able to track signatures, both FPS and in ship. So, for example, you might have seen the last known location. You go to that location, you scan for a quantum travel signature, and if it's not a heavy footfall location, it might be that the last ship to take off, and quantum somewhere, you're picking up residual quantum whatever trail that pointed to this direction. So you travel to that location, and then you find their ship planet side, and then you have to get off out of the ship and hunt for them on foot using your signatures. So again, I think as much as hacking will certainly have a part to play in pretty much any game experience, it could be, you know, just doors and whatnot. But yeah, the signature system is one of the bigger ones. I can't remember if Nyx has a proper planet. I don't think so. I think it's just the protope, or the giant asteroid of Delamar. I don't think it actually has a planet itself. But that's not to say there won't be settlements and things in other areas. But as we know, Delamar, Levski, the People's Republic, that's the main LZ there. So it's not really a huge system to create, but that presents other challenges, like how do we actually put meaningful gameplay in a location that doesn't have many points of interest. Could open up to exploration, though. You meant the ship reports that they no longer want to record manually by mouth, but instead they write the text and the voice AI speaks them. They are the ship reports. I'm not sure what you mean, Luke. It kind of rings a bell, but I can't think of what you're saying. I just can't figure it out. But it does kind of ring a bell what you're saying, but nothing's jumping to me. Yo, H-Boy, do you know if the tech preview will be available to... no, it's just Eva Catty, and it is under NDA, so they can't show any footage, I'm afraid. But they can talk about it. They can openly talk about it. We can see the patch notes, so we will know what is going on, what they're testing, and what it's about. Do you feel like current outposts need to be scaled up, be more like towns? No, I think the ones that we have are fine for the scale, but I also think we need other scaled outposts as well. I think it's not a case of taking what we have now and scaling it in various ways. It's more a case of including more. And I think, again, with Genesis, with the whole clusters and sectors, that is exactly what we're going to see. But the size settlements we have now are great, but we do need bigger ones, and we need smaller ones. We need towns, villages, just general random outposts, farms, and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, that's what they're working towards with Genesis. And, you know, at the end of the day, we're already seeing lots of new interesting points of interest coming along, with more to come this year, but then it'll really expand when the cluster stuff comes in. Oh, I don't know if medical beacons are working in 4.3. Anyone managed to do one? I've seen them popping up, but I haven't, you know, attended any. Yeah, absolutely, Robert. I think the chances are every system, every planet and moon within reason will get retconned, because a lot of those were written before we had physical planets. So naturally they have to be. Yeah, according to current law. Thank you, Tomato King. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what £10.42 has to say about it, about this whole Vulcan test. Playing catch up. How you doing? Welcome. Well, at the end of the day, as you say there, Nyx doesn't need a ton of content per se. It needs content. It needs reasons to go there, reasons to explore and do stuff. But it doesn't need to be treated like Stanton or Pyro. It can be its own thing with its own sort of elements to it. But I think what's more likely is as they build out the MMO, where players and NPCs are flying around and traveling around more freely, then the content will just create itself. This is why I'm not really too bothered about the handcrafted missions. It's the dynamic, organic stuff that happens just freely because people are out and about doing stuff that interests me, and that'll help to populate places like Nyx and every system, more so than handcrafted missions, which, you know, with the mission system, a lot of it is done automatically, where they don't need to worry too much about it, but I suppose with the planet system, getting it to the point where it can populate the necessary planets and moons, not all of them, but the necessary ones with actual interesting spots, will be cool. Yeah, as Sir Cool says, less cookie cutter. Like, right now, they are still quite restricted in terms of their variety when it comes to their sort of procedural or modular sets, because there is still limitation in how much architecture and styles they have. But as they continue to flesh out those assets and include them into the library, then, you know, click of a button, kind of, we have a lot more different styles, architectures, a lot more rule sets that can be expanded upon. Right now, they're just working with what they've got, which is limiting, very rinse-repeat. And they're also rinse-repeating based on just trying to make sure that, you know, the current alpha doesn't kill it for every type of player. Oh, sorry. I see what you mean, Lucas. As in just, yeah, the messages. I know they've been doing a lot of, well, wild lines for NPCs. They haven't spoken about voice packs for ships in a while. But I'm sure as time goes on, they will continue to expand on those. I mean, engineering will probably need quite a bit to alert players, you know, about what is happening in their ship. So they might be heavily invested in that, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, that's right, 11 labs. Yeah, I thought I remembered something about that. I guess that could be handed off to them to do it automatically. That would speed up the process. But I don't know what their intentions are for AI audio. That could be a good way of building that out. I mean, I know they've said, you know, wild lines, conversations, and so forth between NPCs. That would take years and years to flesh out physically with real people. So having an AI do that is a good way of speeding it up. And I've got no qualms with that. Oh, I don't know about Benny Henge. No, I think a lot of locations may have been taken out with 4.0, but I don't know. Is Benny still there? Yo, Carmelo, welcome. Quick question about GameGlass. Is there an Origin theme? No. No, right now, you have, if you have the free version of GameGlass, you get Aegis, which is one of the better ones because you've got it's the only one with the actual startup as well with Aegis, because that is an asset that was available to use. They also made a Drake version, which is part of the paid shard option, which is mostly a bit of a UI and color change into a more of an orange, which does look really nice if you're flying around in your Vulture, for example. There's no startup Drake screen, not yet. Eventually, when you know the MFDs in game do that, it'll be available for Craig to put into GameGlass. But at the moment, Origin isn't there. But they are working on the other ones, so who knows what's coming next. Thank you, by the way. I appreciate your appreciation. I'm really intrigued to see, like, looking at Origin and now looking at Kruger. Not that we've seen much from Kruger aside from, you know, the snubs and a little bit of sneaky peeky of the L-21. I feel like out of the luxury ships, Kruger might be my thing. It kind of reminds me of like Jaguar in the old days. Wooty, you're scrambling to pick up a Polaris for some screenshots before the ship showdown picture submission's finished. Fingers crossed I can source some CCUs. Good luck. Yeah, happy Monday, mate. You have to know how to get there, but it's still there. Oh, so Benny's is still there. Fair enough. Yeah, or buttons that don't work, a bit of duct tape. It would be cool if they had like that sort of cracked screen on. I might put that to Craig, actually. That would be a cool addition, having like a cracked screen on it. Using whispers, Val, is not the best way to communicate, because I have to keep, like, I'm already monitoring Twitch and YouTube. Having to, like, monitor a third area doesn't make it easy, mate. Are you able to... Is there a reason why you're just whispering, or is it okay to move on to the actual Twitch chat? Oh, yeah, the old Bentley, though. Absolutely. I don't know what that Bentley is, but it's got that classic old British sports car look to it. From what we've seen, anyway. Ooh, my head's sweating. It's a warm day today. You're an Origin fan. Nah, fair enough. You haven't figured it out, though. It's... I mean, if you're... You should be able to see the chat, though. Are you on your phone? Is that why, Germ? Are you on your phone app? If you double tap the screen, it should open up chat, I think. No, PC. So if you look in the top right-hand corner, there should be a little arrow that must be closed right now. If you click the arrow that points out that way, it should open up chat for you. And then you'll be able to just type down in the bottom. Because having to open up whispers every time is not convenient, I'm afraid. Yeah, Argo would be nice. Very industrial looking, absolutely similar. Yeah, no worries. If you can't figure it out, mate, don't worry. We'll work something out. But having all these different pop-ups going on. World War II. Yeah, it's kind of like a cross between a World War II fighter and Star Wars pod racers, which I really like. You can't get GameGlass to work with the free version. What's it saying? What do you mean? Ah! Germ! Welcome! There you go. Every time you're saying something, I'm seeing my whisper pop up, and I'm like, blimmin' heck. Can't keep up with that. Oh, man, it's hot. Good afternoon, Vigorous. How you doing today? Dale, sweetheart, how you doing? We will reconvene in-game at some point, mate, and I'll show you where that cave is. Hopefully Friday. So, as I said on the last week, Wednesday and Friday I was supposed to be busy. Now, Wednesday should still be the same. I should still be busy on Wednesday. I'm seeing my auntie and uncle and their grandchild. My, not niece, but, you know, she practically is. But, if Summer's poorly, we won't be going. So that might mean the stream is still on. But chances are we are going. But Friday... it was supposed to be a family gathering, but my cousins are busy, so that has been sort of knocked on the head, and my brother's coming up just to visit us instead of as a you know, a big group. So he's coming up on Thursday. Friday should be free again, so I will be streaming on Friday. So this week it's just Wednesday where I'm not streaming. What was the point of this? Oh, it was you, Dale. So yeah, Friday we should be fine, because I think we're going to be doing a salvage op as an org in live to clean up all of the raft and all the other stuff. So while we're all doing that, I'll hop away and show you the cave at Lawville. If I can still find... To be honest, it might have even been moved since they've been rolling out all these patches, you know, since that series of videos. I really don't know, but I suspect I can find it again just by flying there. I mean, I found it while driving, so, you know... Although it did make it quite dangerous. How warm is it? It's supposed to be 35. Right now, I think it's about 25. Which is way above and beyond what I like. Alt, how are you doing? Django, welcome. L7, everybody. Zendek, good day. Are you all well? I'm doing great, thank you, Alt. Just a little sweaty. Yeah, everyone switched to whispers. It's just pop, 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 pop. You're getting 32 to 35. Oof. Zimba, 7. I should have brought my fan in, to be honest. But I think he's busy today. Use the Idris laser. Yeah, that's what APOC's been doing. There was about 3 or 4 raft at one of the landing pads. And APOC was just like, nose down. Bosh. But yeah, we'll be doing that or something along those lines. Salvaging with reclaimers. We'll have a salvage swarm if you want to bring your vulture and fortune. Yep, fortune. Melt them all. Ark, hello, Mr. Studio, welcome. That's happening. That should be happening now, Studios. I haven't heard anything about it kicking off yet, but I'm busy streaming, so I'm not able to. I'm actually spending time with you rather than checking out the Vulcan Evo stuff. So you're welcome, guys. I'm kidding, but yeah, that should be happening now. If it has, I don't know. I'll keep an eye out on things and see what's happening. But yeah, let us know if anyone's jumping in what it's like. Daniel, welcome. So Origin Consolidated Outland is for the newer players, Crusader and Miska for the experienced players, RSI experienced player, and Drake and Anvil is only for you hardcore veterans. I like that. I like that because I'm a Drake fan. Strange question. Would you ever consider doing voice lines for CIG? Always thought you have a captain's voice. I would, absolutely. But I'm not a voice artist, and I wouldn't sound that good. It's one thing having an interesting voice, but it's another thing actually recording voice for, professionally. And I don't know how I would probably sound like an unprofessional voice actor. What we need is Maya to do the voice. You haven't been able to find it in-game or on Verse Guide. I wonder if it has moved then. It wasn't that far away. It was only like 30 kilometers, from Gate 6. Off in, like, if you're at Gate 6 looking outwards, it's about 35 degrees to the right. Like half one. But again, it could have moved. It's about 30 kilometers away, but if it's still there, I should be able to find it by flying to it. We need map markers. Oh, that's right, the SRV. Yeah, Nexus can be pulling that out for us. Excellent. Should be 1 more hour. No, it should be kicking off now. It said 2 o'clock UTC, which it is 2 o'clock UTC now for 4 hours. So there's 4 hours to go. Anyone in Evacati actually jumping in yet? Ethnicification, how you doing? Welcome. I don't know, Flood. I'm not sure. I think all I can think is that my face scan is just a part of the gene pool, but I haven't been given the combination of numbers to pick it out, or I haven't been given the access to it. But last we heard is that they're just adding more and more, or they've added like another so many to the gene pool. But yeah, I've not seen mine at all. I hope it's still there, and I hope they haven't gotten rid of that, but who knows? We got soul crushed. Seriously? Need to take some voice acting classes. Yeah, there you go. Has it really been soul crushed? Oh, hang on. Let me have a look. Delayed to Wednesday. F. Let's get some Fs, guys. Fs in chat. It's soul crushed. Well, Wednesday's probably better if I... it's not going to be better. It depends on the time. I'm going to be out, aren't I? F. F, F, F. Never mind. You're dead, Valkyrie. I mean, it would be cool for some of us to be invited to do that. I'd be happy to do it. But there are definitely professionals out there. Save them some money, because, we wouldn't need paying. We'd be like, I want to be in-game, that's fine. Yeah, Space Tomato. You got Maya. You got Dig That. There's a lot of people with good voices. When you do character creation, if VoIP is on, it'll try to make your... Does it actually work then, that Squeak? Because I know when I did that video about it, they suddenly took it out and stopped it from working. Have they actually brought it back in? No, delayed till this Wednesday. Oh. Is it this Wednesday? just yeah, we do need an F actually. That's a good point. Life is better when you have no more expectations of good things happening on time. I don't know about that. That's not for me, that life. But for F's sake, I was looking forward to hearing more about that. Ghost Mick, how you doing? Thank you for the follow. Anyway, shall we start breaking down the monthly report? Because there is some good stuff to go at with it. Wrong one. Let's go there. You don't want to see that. That's going to be a real boring stream, just looking at my notes. So AI content, they push these new combatant wildline sets, which is essentially just, I'll get you next time, or whatever they say. They also revisited ship behaviors, did AI content, to look for new opportunities to make the populations feel more interactive. Not ship behaviors. I've written that wrong. Let me get this actually up on the website. I've clearly written something wrong there. Yo, Dirtbag, how you doing? I'm alright, thank you. Yeah, mate. Are you? Have you been busy with real life? Shop behaviors. There you go. That'll be autocorrect because I'm usually typing ship. So the AI content team revisited shop behaviors to look for new opportunities to make the population feel more interactive, like what we see now at the medical facilities where NPCs will you know, they'll walk up to the staff at the hospitals and so forth and complain about regen and whatnot, which they say is to add more lore and flavor, which is nice. I'm glad that they're pushing these kinds of, well, not just lore snippets that can, you know, sell a more believable place, but also, as we know, the intention is, like in Chris's old games, you could go to a bar and hear two NPCs just talking about something and revealing a cool mining spot or a bit of hidden treasure or whatever. So there is some benefits as well to these wildlines, but obviously they're a bit more complex. They're not just random things, or you're not just, you know, scripts that are talking to other NPCs. There's actually a meaning behind them. Is JP not? Oh, he's here. He's here. He's probably just headed off somewhere quick. Yeah, Tiberius. We were supposed to be getting a what do you call it? A tech preview to test Vulkan and FPS AI behaviors, but it's been delayed till Wednesday. And it's this coming Wednesday, not next Wednesday. Oh, do they do that in Star Wars Outlaws? I mean, that's the inspiration, I think. You know, not necessarily Star Wars Outlaws, but the Star Wars idea of, you know, you're in this bar and you're overhearing conversations and leading to pretty cool stuff. You having a rough morning, are you, Sandman? Hope everything's alright, mate. Yo, Louis, how you doing? And Devi, welcome. Alright, what else we got? So AI Tech are also planning for several of their upcoming releases, outlining the required work and what potential obstacles they may need support with to overcome, all the while supporting missions and design teams in implementing additional comm calls into the game. So, like we see with, you know, now we have missions that aren't just text on a MobiGlass, we actually have a face that pops up and speaks to us, which is a nice touch. For the AI features team, they continue to develop new creatures. Do you know, that's the only thing, well, we'll speak about this a little bit more, but this is the only time they speak about creatures. Nothing more beyond this. So, they continue to develop new creatures, including prototype gameplay for a boss fight, and as part of this, new tech was created that makes the process faster and more iterative, providing a better toolkit for designers. So it sounds like they're working on ways to... Is that Summer singing Let It Go? She's got the voice of an angel. I'm kidding. She does. But, yeah, creating tools that allow them to speed up the process, I assume, of creating creatures. But a boss fight. Now, personally, I have never been a fan of the boss fight style gameplay where you get to the end of the level and then you have this big boss fight. It's usually, if I can't do it, where I put the game down for months and then have to pick it back up again and relearn all the controls right as you're going into the part where you need to be concentrating the most and having the most practice. It always feels really scripted. It always feels really repetitive and just, you know, clearly I've got to shoot this in the orange glowing bit that's projecting from its neck. It kind of just ruins that organic, systemic approach of a creature being in the real world, you know, being in the verse that you come across based on what you're doing or where you are, where it lives, and then having to figure out how to deal with it, rather than it being like a, here is a boss. Now, that said, I'm sure it'll be interesting in regards to what they're going to show here, and I'm assuming it's something like the Apex Sandworm, you know, boss that you're taking on, which should be organic, because you are going to the location where it might be, or a known location. You're creating a bit of a disturbance there, and it travels from a location to get to you, like the juveniles do. They're not just stood there waiting for you. The juveniles actually are underground, and they travel underground to get to your location. I'm sure it's a bit more gamified than it being completely natural, but I'm hoping that this, whatever this boss fight is, it's the same thing, rather than it being like, you know, Lazarus, where you get to the end of the mission and then you got to fight a worm. It's kind of like, it's too scripted. It's too obvious. We know it's going to happen. We're prepared for it, and then you do it, and it's done. I don't mind it now and again, but it's not something that I've ever really enjoyed. Very stilted pattern recognition. Yeah, it's never been a game trope that I like. It is always just too scripted for me. Ship Showdown. Ooh, what my predictions are. Raft will be up there, I bet. That seems to be a pretty decent one that people like. Oh yeah, we need creatures of all kinds. Acid instead of blood. But no, you know, at the end of the day, they are working on a lot of creatures. They intend for 1.0 or before 1.0 to get a lot of creatures out so that we have a full ecosystem of animals and... do I mean ecosystem? I don't mean ecosystem. I mean... Well, yeah, I do. But... Yeah, just... I think it's more a case of... The character team creates something, and then they give it to the mission team, and they try and find an interesting way to use it so that it entertains players while we're playing the alpha. Essentially, when it goes to 1.0, we're going to have that, but we're also going to have all that organic stuff happen anyway. Prophetic, welcome. It was delayed until Wednesday, unfortunately. So, whatever happened, I don't know. Summer should do voice in Star Citizen. Yeah, she should. It'd be so cute. If only overhearing conversations led to cool stuff in real life. Usually it's just, yeah, it's just someone complaining about their husband. Do you like? Are you a fan of them, APOC? I'm sure there's a lot of people that are actually big, you know, like the traditional side of MMOs or any form of game like Resident Evils and, you know, having these boss fights. They've just never been my thing. But I obviously there's a lot of people that do like them. Dog, thank you so much for the follow. And Prophetic, thank you for the follow as well. Much appreciated. You reckon a ship will win it? Can't be a ground vehicle, can it? Kingship World Boss would be very good, though. Well, at the end of the day, though, again, it's like... Let's say, for example, we get to Nyx, and if you kill enough Vanduul, then a kingship comes through, which is essentially a boss fight, but it makes sense in the way that it's handled. But I think that the difference being is that if you lose, you die, and you have to respawn, and then you can go and do something else. It's not a, you know, in order to get to the next level, you have to go through this boss. And that leads to freedom of approaching it how you want, which I suppose is a big benefit to having boss fights. But yeah. I've just never liked the, you know, you get to that point where it's like, oh, here comes the boss. Let me just figure out the game mechanic that is required to take this out. It's not like you're actually using skill. Well, you are using some skill, I suppose, but it's like, all right, well, when I shoot him there, then he exposes that, so I can shoot them there, and then that will knock that off, and I've got to do that 6 times, and then he's dead. It's just so boring to me. So boring. Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. Scripted gameplay is fun the first couple of times, then it gets, you know, a long shelf life, and that's why all of this mission stuff that we're getting in Star Citizen, not all of it, like the stuff you can repeat is kind of fun, but again, it's I've done it once, I'm not going to do it again. I just prefer the locations being there, so I can go there and find interesting things more than anything. Eric, how you doing? Oh, the Star Lancers, yes, that could be a cool one. I do like the Star Lancers. Ah, the Kazi Grazer arc. It is. I like the Kazi Grazers. They're not, especially the fluffy ones. I would definitely ranch some Kazi Grazers when we have farms. Having it, you know, just walking out in the morning with my cup of coffee, looking out and being like, I'm missing one. Let's jump into the UTV and go looking for it. Well, that's true, Sonny, yeah. Well, it will still be possible in the verse because we will be able to create Bengal carriers. We'll be able to actually craft Bengal carriers and maybe not retributions, but at least Bengal carriers. So there's no reason why a kingship couldn't come through, and as long as we have the firepower to take it on, we could take it down. Original Kraken boss. Where roaming super monsters that can ambush. Yes, that's exactly how I expect it's going to play out in Star Citizen Epoch. It's not necessarily a boss where, in order to get to the next stage, you've got to take this out. It's more a case of you're out there, you know, roaming around doing some mining, and then suddenly an apex worm bursts out of the ground, destroys your vehicle, and you're trying to survive and run for your life, and yeah, you're ill-prepared. And then you call to the org, and they're like, right, we've got an apex predator, or an apex sandworm, Thalaker, let's get prepped, get sorted, and go and defeat this. That's the boss fight. I think it's just more the term boss fight that annoys me. Or it doesn't annoy me, it just makes me feel like I don't want to do it. You do want weak points and boss stages, or it just ends up being pure bullet sponge. Oh yeah, well, I don't want a bullet sponge, but I agree. There needs to be methods. But what I mean is that basic scripted, yeah, just do this, rinse, repeat, and then you're done. I would like to be able to find, and I think Star Citizen will allow this as well, find unique ways to damage the creature, be that a various type of weapon, a tank, a bomb, you know, anything. But as we know, you can drop bombs on them, but you will ruin any of the quality of the pearls or whatever else you could potentially get. You're very cautiously optimistic about the integration of Vulkan, hoping to see some performance improvements since I have a less than prime CPU. Yeah, well, it should at least open up the potential for multi-threading. So, yeah, I'm expecting for the majority of us who are, you know, CPU bound to see some benefits in some way. Absolutely. A Rambo Pico irradiated. Yo, Ivenic, how you doing? Yeah, and I'm pretty sure CIG will do fine with the creatures and their sort of boss version fights of them, and I'm looking forward to seeing it, especially if one gets discovered and then we go out and, you know, take them out. Although I would certainly prefer, not prefer, because sometimes I just want to go and shoot stuff, but I would certainly look forward to having science-based fauna missions where you've got to go out and research them, study them, see their behaviors, and report back to the governing body that would be watching that, you know? I think that if you were to summon a kingship, you would have to play with a large org. Oh, yeah, but I think in order to, like, the process of summoning that kingship would be probably taking out a lot of the Vanduul clan, in various, you know, here comes another one, let's take them out, and then once you've done so much, that would trigger it. It's not something a solo player who's gone to the Vanduul front and Nyx, and if you're in a Mark II Hornet and you manage to take out the whole of a clan of a Vanduul, which is going to be very unlikely, suddenly then a kingship comes through. You're not going to be able to take that on. It is going to be something that scales to having orgs, but not even orgs. Let's say, for example, when Nyx comes out, we will certainly be going to the Vanduul front there and monitor and sort of patrolling an area of space. I don't know how big it's going to be, where the Vanduul could potentially come through. I'm assuming they'll be using forms of like transient jump points, so you're not going to know exactly where it's going to happen, but we will have a patrol path with our org that's hopefully big enough to see that. But I'm sure there will be other orgs there doing the same thing, and it will be working together. You're not going to be like, well, I'm going to take that org out so that I can be the ones to kill the Vanduul. You're going to be hailing the org, announcing your presence. You know, this is the SM Borg. We're here to take on the Vanduul. Let me know if you need assistance, and we'll do the same. So even if you arrive there in your, solo Mark II Hornet or whatever, if there are other players there, you can be like, let's meet together and get together and protect each other. Yeah, just got to ride the worm home. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Tamara King. More just to do with main thread bottlenecking than anything. Blade Runner, welcome. Yeah, Space Whale. Oh, I didn't see which video it was, Alt. Is it this one that's on now? Yeah, absolutely, Mighty. I think it'll be a case of once you've taken out enough Vanduul, then it'll trigger a kingship, and that'll be a wide, a dynamic event. Not one, like all these dynamic events that we've had in the past, like Xenothreat, they've been manually triggered for the sake of testing the gameplay. What they want to get to is just automatic triggers that happen based on a certain rule set. So you take out enough Vanduul, that triggers the kingship potentially, and then that creates this system-wide event where a kingship comes through. You could have, people in their Reliant Makos filming this, like announcing that to the verse that there's a kingship in the system of Nyx, and then orgs can come through to try and fight it. Like it could be a whole, and it's not something that CIG have pressed right now, let's trigger it. It's the rules have been fulfilled, or the prerequisites have been fulfilled. Now it comes through, and then there'll be a cooldown. Yeah, absolutely, sweet. Just no pressure. Just go out and do what you feel like. Best way to do it. Something that still think is bad is CIG telling exactly that what we need to do in a new event. Yeah, I agree. I think the trouble is right now, it's so hit or miss as to whether something's working or not that you don't know what the true intention is. Like, is this supposed to happen? Or am I waiting for something to trigger that's not happened? That's the difficulty right now. When things are working as they should, then they can be less hand-holdy, which they don't want to be hand-holdy, but they can be less hand-holdy when it's less likely going to be a bug. Mind-numbing, how you doing? Welcome. All heavy fighters should be interceptor tuned like the Scorpion. No. So interceptors should be tuned as interceptors because that's their role, to intercept ships. But an interceptor doesn't necessarily make... And this is the thing that we're seeing now happening with balance. There are many different scenarios in that combat bubble of dogfighting, right? You've got intercepting, which is catching a ship to intercept it. You've got ones that are able to get the better of its opponent by running rings around it because it's more agile. And then you've got the heavy hitters that are supposed to be going after subsystems of capital ships. You've got ones that are supposed to be taking out the pesky light fighters and snub. There are so many different levels to just combat in itself that not all ships should adhere to the same performance window, because the intention is you bring a ship for the specific use case. Now, I know that's not going to be sitting well with a lot of people who maybe own one interceptor and want to use it for dogfighting. That's not to say you can't get good at it, but there needs to be that variety, because the intention is you have a ship for a specific purpose. You can still use it in other purposes, but it excels in a specific purpose. And I like that. I do, Zendek, yeah, SM Borg. There you go. Thank you, Rhino. Showed a salvaging event. Oh, if anyone can remember, I actually don't have the background footage too much on my screen. I have my own notes at the moment. If CIG doesn't make the Kingship super tough for a bunch of civilians, then they have failed. What do you mean? As in, like, for players to take on? Yeah, it should be an absolute nightmare to take down, requiring a lot of other people. But at the same time, if a Kingship arrives, and then suddenly 4 Bengal carriers arrive, 3 Idris, 16 Hammerheads, you know, it isn't going to stand a chance. And it will get killed. It needs to be relative to the force that's going up against it. But I suspect that will be an absolute cluster F and a nightmare to maneuver around. And it will be a case of, right, there's enough people here fighting. Let's wait for the next one, or let's do something else. And then on top of that, this is where the organic side of thing really comes in. All that's happening there, and this is why, you know, everything has to connect. Let's say a Kingship comes in, you've got a couple of Orgs with a Bengal and Idris, all this fighting going on, ships blowing up, missiles being launched, fuel being used, ships aging, and well, not aging, but being, you know, shot and whatnot. All of that then requires refueling, rearming, repairing, medical, and then eventually salvage, scavenging, and that becomes this battleground where you can go and find all unique stuff, and people can come and pick bits that they want. They can salvage full things. Like, it is the circle of life in Star Citizen, and that is why all of these systems need to come together and make sense together, because they're not single scripted events. They are an ecosystem that feeds each other, and that all connects. That's why I love, and I've always loved, the premise of Star Citizen. Door, is that how you say it? Apologies. Welcome, thank you for the follow. Shenanigans. Rock, paper, scissors principle. You'd be open to the combat to something other than the AI. What's that, Germ? Sorry. As in, like, not just combat, but working and stuff, like science stuff. 1 Kingship and supported fleet should took on 4 Bengal variants, 8 javelins. What, is that in Squadron? Oh, was that in the lore? Well, there you go. That Kingship is a bit of a beast. So, yeah, it should certainly withstand a decent amount. But, yeah, I guess it depends on... It's a bit like, you know, in a fight, when they say, like, you know, how many men would it take to take on a gorilla? It's like, well, it's not just a case of how many people, because it's not all those people hitting at the same time. There's only so many people that can get close to something to do that, right? So it's like, if you have a Kingship and all that is required to take that on at speed, you're not just dealing with everyone firing at one go. You've got a lot of mess there to have to navigate through, making sure that you're not shooting your own people or flying into people. It isn't as simple as just everyone firing at the same time. Yo, Proton. Oh, I actually tried the live build with Vulcan, but my frame rate dipped bad until I got out of the city. I don't know if that was to do with other stuff, though. Yes, I believe the Onyx facilities are cookie cutters. I think the reasoning behind that is to sort of spread out missions so that people aren't all being sent to the same spot. So they all had to remain the same, unfortunately. Oh, is it the CitizenCon demo? As in the, the first hour or whatever it was. I've actually been watching that recently. Last night, in fact. And the night before, because I had to do it in 2 sessions. Welcome, Dimitri. You wanted to ask if there are any videos on my channel with interesting places on the planets in Star Citizen, settlements abandoned, such as in the live off-grid. You saw on the streams that you were in many interesting locations, but since you were not driving the ship, it is difficult to understand where it is. Yeah, fair enough. I would suggest just picking places that aren't necessarily like mining outposts, ones that have interesting names, like Rappel and whatnot, on the various planets, and just jumping to them and checking them out, because there is a lot of unique places, settlements especially, that I think is definitely worth taking a look at. They're all very interesting. And hopefully as we get more NPCs feeling like they're living and breathing in these places, they'll have more things to do there than just, you know, drop off pickup spots. Do I think the Mantis is wasted development time? All the work that went into it and making it work across server meshing just for a single ship to niche gameplay? No, it's an absolute must-have in a lot of various scenarios. I think it's probably just not working as ideally as it could right now. The point of the Mantis is to pull ships out of quantum travel, and when it's used properly, it is very effective. And I think once we have, you know, proper trade lanes, and actual tactics behind why you would need to pull someone out of a quantum travel or keep them out of quantum travel, it's actually a very useful ship. Not wasted development time at all. It's not even that niche. It is certainly, I mean, it is quite niche, but it is a specific type of ship that will be very beneficial for many different areas of the game, especially things like bounty hunting, you know, capturing them. Make Nova Intergalactic struggle. Are they like the big... I thought tests were the biggest, weren't they? You really miss the investigation missions. You know, it's weird because we had at CitizenCon a sort of a mission brief chat with Elliot and Luke about the mission, these new investigation missions, or, you know, about the new types of missions that are coming with investigations where you can see how someone died and get all these little clues, but that just, I guess, get put on the back burner. Again, though, like with any missions, I would rather them be more systemic, and I think once we have the proper beacon system or a way of tracking that kind of stuff, where there could be missions to go out and help NPCs and recover them, or find missing people that are a bit more dynamic, because right now it is just the body's placed here, you've just got to go and find it. When we have NPCs actually moving around the verse, you know, getting in and out of ships, traveling around, walking around on foot, then it could be a bit more systemic based on where they were actually found or last seen. Oh yeah, we got the Guardian QI, the Antares. Yeah, it's not. It is a specific role, but it is an important role that will have, if not as many use cases now, more in the future. In fact, now there is plenty of use cases for it because of the resource drive. For the first time, it's given pirates a real need to stop ships mid-track and loot for their own benefit. So it's a very important ship. Well, not just the Mantis, all of them. And they will have their places. But in terms of just, you know, the role, it's definitely important. There's guides to find crash ships. Oh, it's in like the actual hand-placed stuff. Well, I got pulled out of Quantum a little while back, and the person who did it, they literally saw me leave the refinery and then waited 40 minutes, like seeing which direction I went in, and figured out where I would likely be coming back from, and managed to set up a snare, waited 40 minutes and caught me and then killed me. They did ask for money, and I got a bit overexcited and just tried to run. And they were in a Mantis. I was in my Prospector, and I just got, as I say, I just got overexcited. I was like, "Ah, you can't catch me!" And I blasted it, and they killed me. I should have paid, really. That would have allowed me to survive because I had Quantanium on board, and I could have afforded it because it was only like 20,000 they wanted, and I had hundreds of thousands of Quantanium on board. But it was the first time it happened, and I got all excited. An interdictor capital. There's no reason why something like that wouldn't appear, though. Absolutely. Gonji, thank you so much for the 19-month Tier 2 resub, my friend. Beers and party, please. How you doing? Are you well? Thank you, yo. So that's something to do, Dimitri. If you're interested in finding interesting spots, yeah, get that link, please, Carmelo, and go out and find all these interesting... Is it just verse guide? Go and find all these, you know, make it a thing where you get all your gear together, you get food and drink for the expedition, maybe even a ground vehicle in a bigger vehicle, and go and explore and see what's around. Yeah, Star Citizen's version of fishing before fishing actually comes along. Quantum interdiction. Right, what else have we got? Let's get back to the monthly report. Last thing we spoke about was the boss fight. For human combat, the team fixed numerous smaller bugs and issues, which is always good. They also added various polish features, including a close-range shove attack that allows the AI to respond rapidly to the player or NPCs getting close. So essentially, if you get in the face of an NPC, they could push you away, which is nice. It kind of makes sense, and I'm sure it'll feel appropriate. The team also tweaked, refined, and bug-fixed perception and investigation when used by group behaviors. So group perception time is now used to determine how long a target has been out of range rather than the individuals and the time before they time out and then go back to the sort of idle state. So it's kind of like you've got individual, you know, NPCs that will have perception, both visual, audible, and a kind of an investigation period where if they think they saw something, they'll investigate. If they have, then they will, you know, weapon up and check out. But also groups will communicate between each other and coordinate between each other and not just be on a individual limit. Which, you know, a lot of games do that. Star Citizen needs it. It's not like groundbreaking additions, but it's something that Star Citizen needs. The way I'd like to see it is kind of like Metal Gear Solid, but it always annoys me when they've literally been in a gunfight, taken damage, then you've ran away, and then they're like, nah, they've gone. And they go back to idle again. I feel like, I don't know what else you would do if you've been away for a long enough time. They might just assume that they've scared you off or killed you, but it just seems so like, oh, I was just shot in the arm, but I can't see him anymore, so I'm just going to assume they're not there. But yeah, we'll see how that rolls out. Yo, Mod, how you doing? Welcome. Could you use ore pods containing unprocessed quantanium to clear pads to blow them up? I mean, I suppose so. I don't know. I don't know how... I've never thought about using unprocessed quantanium pods as C4. Has anyone tried that? That's a good question. Do you know if CIG are putting the parcel missions? I don't know. I assume they will be doing the delivery missions. Right now, I think the closest thing we have are if you go to Pyro and you go to one of the outposts there, you have the local delivery missions where it's basically a box in a building at a settlement that needs picking up and taking to a different building in the same settlement. And there's a few of those you can run through. But yeah, the whole delivery kind of FedEx style gameplay, I don't know when that's coming back, or if they are bringing it back, they'll probably want to expand on it a little bit and make it a little bit more detailed. But I can't imagine they've done away with it for good. I think they will bring that back, but hopefully with a bit more quality of life to it as well. Something you meant to add earlier, Daylight. You suspect Bounty Hunting version 2 will also held up behind the AI improvement. Oh yeah. So essentially, there's no reason why we can't have the player bounties expanding with, you know, better features. But absolutely, we need NPCs to be able to traverse not just on a planet's surface, but fly around in a ship. They need to be able to quantum travel. They need to be able to use elevators, transit systems, all sorts of stuff. And again, once that is done, it's not just bounty hunting, AI bounty hunting that can expand. It's also passenger transport. Landing the mole and an enemy Idris, full of quantanium, and then what, EVAing out. It's not FedEx unless you have customers with ridiculous requests. Hey, we were delivering pizzas and so forth, so you never know. Yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe the transport refactor is needed first. Then the AI need to be able to use the transport, this refactored transport system, rather than trying to get them. That's probably why we haven't seen that option come along, is because, getting NPCs to actually getting to a lift, or an elevator, sorry, or a train or a tram or whatever, is probably causing more harm than good at this time until the transport refactor is in. Yo, Graham, how you doing? Homemade TNT. Yeah, exactly. You think unprocessed ore pod explosives might make a good video if the ships are game rule ships? Well, there is that. You've seen one pod take out every ship in an area, including soft deathing a Polaris. Just hard to control. Well, I guess, like, for example, maybe we should try this on Friday's stream, where if we have Quantanium that has just been mined, plonking a box next to a freight elevator where there are a bunch of game rules rafts, and then running away and watching from a distance. I don't know what the safe distance is, and just seeing what happens would be cool. I like the idea of that. Yo, Dad, you're praying for a hard wipe? How come? There were issues that came in since 4.0. I'd like to bring things back to ground zero. I mean, I feel like they're very reluctant to do that so that they can continue tracking, but yeah, I don't know. Mine doesn't seem too bad. I haven't felt the need for a hard wipe of late. I do miss having a good old wipe, but at the same time, it kind of feels like soft wipes every time we have a new patch anyway, especially with the off-grid stuff, so I'm quite content with not having one, personally. But yeah, I don't know when they plan to do one next, if at all, until 1.0. I'm sure there'll be another one before that. Yeah, you could throw your stuff away. You could hand it out. Have like a, I'm hard wiping myself. Come to my hangar. Take what you want. You could do like a garage sale, but in your hangar, where you just allow people to go in and take what they want. Architect, how you doing? Oh yeah, there'll definitely be one for 1.0, but whether there'll be any prior to that, who knows? Crafting, could be. I don't think we'll see a wipe until maybe crafting, so they can see how the players out in the economy. Yeah, how that plays out in the economy, yeah. Yeah, nice one, Dale. That's what we can do. You can bring some saddlebags of Quantanium, take note of the timer on it, and we'll just plant them at... I mean, the problem is, we'll plant one in between all these game rules rafts, and then we'll be sat back on a hillside watching, and a little, player will start coming down in their Intrepid or Cutlass or whatever, and we'll be like, no! And then, boom, everybody dies, and we get sent to prison. So yeah, maybe not. I don't know, we'll definitely give it a go though, but we'll have to make sure that we are warning anyone coming in that avoid the saddlebag. Right, what else we got? Progress was made on AI weapon interface and dynamic condition weapons. For example, a weapon changing from rapid fire to single fire when overheating. So this is, I guess, giving the NPCs the ability to understand and figure out what is happening with their weapon, because each weapon has various states, not just fire states, like single fire, automatic and whatnot, sorry, fully and whatnot, but degradation states and overheating states, and the NPCs need to be able to cater for that and figure that out, so it's a very complex thing, I think. And then the team prototyped tech for AI bounding Overwatch, which says it relates to NPCs coordinating to traverse cover when moving to an area. Now, it is nice to see them working on more detailed combat maneuvers, like you should see in, say, the Armor series, where they're capable of, if there's no immediate cover, or they're trying to retreat, they can put down cover fire to get, to make progress in a direction or to retreat in the opposite direction. But what I would like to see more so is sort of fire for effect, where you have I mean, Hell Let Loose does it really well, where if you're under fire from a weapon, you get that kind of like sense that you're under fire, where you don't want to poke your head up. Not that I've ever experienced being under fire, but you know what I mean. So having a lot of the time when I'm in a not even just a PvP but a PvE interaction, the minute fire starts coming from a direction, I immediately put down fire before I move to try and get that NPC to react. Or I think it's more of like a habit that I got from my armor days, where you try to encourage them to put their head down and stop firing while you're making your way to protect, cover. And I would like it to have an impact on NPCs. I would like it to have an impact on us, so that they are a bit more harder to take on. So that if they are doing a bounding, like if they're doing a bound in Overwatch and you're not feeling any sense of threat when they're firing at you, it kind of defeats the object. So it would be nice. But yeah, that's the fact that they're pushing this more detailed combat behavior is interesting, and I wonder if we'll see any of that in this Wednesday test. Expect 4.2.1 levels of content for the tech preview. The heck? So for this tech preview, in terms of Vulcan, and this is the EFT testing chat, by the way, for Vulcan and AI FPS behaviors, it says expect 4.2.1 levels of content for the tech preview. What does that mean? Very strange. They said earlier in the year there would not be a 5.0. No, yeah. 4 point branch will then lead into 1.0. Could be Flood. Yeah, I guess it's just there's... I don't know. Interesting sentence, that. Maybe with NPCs, maybe there's actually something with the AI, which we are going to be... This is an old one. What am I doing that for? Which we will be engaging with when we're checking the AI behaviors. Very strange. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Squeak. No, yeah. Sorry, Flood. I see what you're saying. Yeah. It's not going to be a 4.3 build. It's not going to be new content. It's going to be 4.2.1. Good point. Okay, that makes sense. I need a wee, actually, on that note. I'm going to get another coffee. Okay, yeah, I misread that. I was very confused. Right, let me go piddle while the coffee's coming. Warm. Oh, it's a chair god. Let me just get my coffee and then we'll carry on. Yeah, I've just realised as well that my thumbnail says latent information. No, that wasn't intentional. But screw it, I'm going to leave it and claim that it was to draw people in to comment. So, firstly, I misspelled the thumbnail and then I forgot to press start streaming. What a good day this is turning out to be. Yo, Jan, how you doing? More coffee and you should take back the glacier cooler to its rightful owner. You what? I've actually installed that already, I'll have you know. Ah, coffee. Very nice. Take it back. I am the rightful owner. How dare you? They don't want their latest build, their test build based on 4.3, since that has a lot of changes at the moment. Yeah, it makes sense to keep it in a build that's kind of already set. Does AI behaviors include level of skills for AI they've been working on? I don't know. I don't think so. It is a Le Creuset mug, yeah. There's no conversation there, is there? That's it, yeah. I have that and a black matte black one. I saw my neighbour drinking out of a matte black Le Creuset mug the other day when I was looking out the window, and I thought, that looks nice. And we went to like a shopping outlet and I picked one up. Rachel's got a pink one. Right. Ah, Miligassi, of course. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a pleasure having you join us. There'll be probably another event on, another event during the stream on Friday if you're up for that one. This will be a salvaging one, but there's, between now and then there might be other things going on as well. I have to check the schedule, actually. I need to do that myself, because Deacon, you guys, you're always setting up stuff, and I'm like, ooh, if I get time, I'll jump in. It's always the case, though. It gets to the night time after, like, Rach goes to bed, and I'm like, I'm knackered. I can't. So I end up going to bed myself. You would love Jared to have Rich Tyron started as live to update on their progress as it stands now, considering his sitcom presentation was based off information we know changed shortly after. Funnily enough, though, well, firstly, CitizenCon is 2 months away. It's probably all going to get put into there rather than a quick update video, or not a quick update, but another update video between now and then. I would suspect, and I assume, Rich is just super, super busy. It's true though. They had this intention, and then I don't know, the scopes or the idea changed that it would be more just focused on things like quality of life and stability and things. But this Thursday, I think, it should be the Benoit follow-up to server meshing and VoIP video. I think it was 2 weeks ago that they said during Star Citizen Live, talking about various what was it? Just VoIP came. I can't remember what the Star Citizen Live was, but he says in a couple of weeks we'll have the follow-up with Benoit talking likely about dynamic meshing, and he will address the VoIP and VoIP stuff. Oh, the audio team. Of course, it was on. So the audio team, when it comes to VoIP, it's not the audio team's issue with VoIP. It's the Montreal team that needs to refactor it. I'm hoping it's not a stupidly big refactor that needs to. There's obviously the social refactor, but I'm hoping they can take the current VoIP system that supports up to 50 people and expand that to support more. I mean, I don't know if they can take it to support all 600, but at least just, expand it to support more than just 50. But yeah, that should be this Thursday, if my calculations are correct. Yeah, I won't be streaming it, but I will be covering it in a video, and we will certainly talk about it while I'm live. Maybe not Friday, because I have to write it first. The process that I go through that really works well for me for retaining information is you know, something happens, like, let's say, for example, a monthly report comes out. I read it as a backer, as a fan, just excited, like, blah, 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 blah. Usually on a night time. And then the next day, or whenever I get time, I will then read through it and write it as I go, which helps to absorb more, because I'm literally reading it word for word, picking out the information that I think is important, or delving further into it, elaborating on it that might, you know, reveal a bit more information that those who have joined more recently might not understand. And then it's a case of recording it, so hearing it for the third time, and then editing through it and putting footage to it. So again, it kind of, like, doing it that much really helps to absorb the information. So when it comes to things like Star Citizen Lives, and we have a big chunk of information to go with, it benefits me in just the amount of times I have to reread it and listen to it and so forth. I don't know the point of what I was saying that for, to be fair. Yo, Taron. Good morning. Oksana. Good morning. Or 7. Or afternoon. How much do you want to bet the video content this week is just behind the ships on the Kruger? Well, it shouldn't be. The Kruger is probably going to be a bit of a later one as it gets closer to live release. I suspect next week will be Kruger. The week after that will be 4.3. This week, I hope, I mean, you could be right, but I really hope it is the Benoit thing. Well, they said it 2 weeks ago. Jared said in 2 weeks we will have an update video with Benoit on server meshing. So technically that should be this week. But as Flood says, who knows? It could be something else. With VoIP, they need to future-proof it as well. Yeah, oh, absolutely. But so what I'm saying is, the future-proofing, like we're seeing with the transport refactor, the future-proofing for VoIP, for the party system, for all that stuff, will come with the social refactor, which is an entire refactor of the social systems, which is orgs, party, VoIP, friends lists, everything that entails the social aspect of Star Citizen. That is going to get refactored once the transport refactor is done. But what I'm hoping, the Montreal team need to do something with the VoIP system, because it currently only supports the 50 players that we used to have on a server, and expand that. I'm hoping they can expand it to something that is more applicable to what we have now, even if it's not the full refactor. Just make it so that it works much more consistently, and not just for the first 50 people that get into the game, or, you know, rolling 50. While they then also go and work on the social refactor. I'm just hoping there's something they can get done before that. Yeah, exactly, Rhino. It won't come until the actual ship itself is ready to release. Raytheon, it's 7, sir. How you doing? Yes, Xanth. Yeah. What do you think are the 3 biggest features that would transform the current Star Citizen experience? Flipping it. That's a comment. So biggest features. I mean, it depends on in what way transform. Like, for me, things like the social refactor, although that's not really a feature, that's a refactor, but things like the scanning and the signature system. Oh man, let me have a look. Engineering would, but I don't think for everybody it would be one that they like. But for me, engineering would be a big change in the game. So, what we got? Well, economy update. Continuing to improve the economy would be a nice one, so that there's more reason behind what we're doing. Crafting certainly would. That'll kind of like be a precursor to base building and crafting, giving more intention behind anything we do, right? We need these materials to create this so that we can sell it and make money, but we need those materials first. So how do we get those? That gives intention behind what we're doing, not just playing. The scanners and signature system can really expand on all different areas of the game, and also open up to things, as we say, to things like exploration, bounty hunting, but there's more needed to do there. In terms of like non-features, but just more optimizations or quality of life and bug fixing, improving what we have. But again, that's not a feature. Oh, I don't know, that's such a big question to throw at me there, Xanth. There's probably a lot of other things that I would say differently, but right off the top of my head, oh, God knows. Yeah, things like the social refactor, again, it's a refactor, not a feature. It's definitely going to have a big impact on the way we play the game, but not for everybody. Just for, I mean, in a way for everybody, but mostly for orgs. And if you're not in an org or bothered about orgs or multi-crew or whatever, then it's not going to bother too much. But, you know, engineering will probably have, love it or hate it, a massive impact for everybody. Because essentially, your ship will be systemic and things can happen and degrade and need to be fixed and so forth. But yeah. Yo, Steve. Well, the quantum mechanics and stuff, that will certainly improve. That's, like, to me, the quantum stuff is less of a big change and more of just a huge quality of life improvement, because it is taking what we already have and just making it function better with a bit more nuance to it. Yo, Hawk, how you doing? Yo, Paraquat, a late game mechanism, something to do other than acquire ships. Well, yeah, money sink. I mean, that's the thing with crafting. We don't need, you know, not even essentially base building, but crafting. I mean, crafting, you can build ships. Whether we get that straight out the gate, I doubt it, but having a purpose behind making something, even if it's just to use yourself, drives economic gameplay with resource gathering and trading between each other and hauling and logistics and things. Yeah, I mean, refueling and rearming, if it worked and it was more necessary, it would certainly be a lot of fun having, you know, orgs flying around with starfarers, but it's so easy to just go and refuel. So it kind of defeats the object unless you're stuck in the middle of nowhere. I agree, Rhino. Engineering changes everything about the game because everybody has to get into a vehicle at some point. Whether or not you're flying it or not, it doesn't matter. You're inside a vehicle that is degrading, it's aging, it's probably going to break at some point. If you get any damage, it'll need to be repaired and fixed, and you might be stranded until you get that done. It's one of the biggest systems, and I know a lot of people are scared of it, but it's not to be feared. I don't mean like, it's not to be feared. It's to enhance the experience, and it isn't going to be a case of, maybe to start with, but it isn't going to be a case of every 2 minutes something's going wrong and you're having to stop and it's interrupting everything. It's more of just, for the smaller side of things, it's just maintenance. But as things start to scale, it then becomes, you know, a dedicated role. Night Swimmer, how you doing? Thank you for the follow, welcome. Night Swimming. It's a great song. Can't even remember the rest of it, to be fair. I tried. Probably for me, the three features would be balanced balancing. I think balancing overall, not even necessarily in combat, but, you know, ships, weapons, armors, starware, flight mechanics, just general balance for everything. Engineering, probably boarding. Boarding will be cool, but I think a lot of people will just negate boarding and just like try and shoot and then go. But yeah, once we get to a systemic soft death, not a traditional soft, no, not traditional, but not the soft death we have now. It's, you know, boarding is going to be involved. That's going to be pretty cool. But we need hacking for boarding, I suppose. So your 3, Xanth. Well, Planetech version 5. Sorry, yes. So Genesis, Starcitect, Engineering, Crafting. They're good ones. Crafting, base building, economy, trading, skill progression, stat progression, death of a spaceman, radars, exploration, hacking. Yeah, I think that's what threw me when Xanth asked, is there's not one thing that I'm really like, I just want that. It doesn't work if we have just one thing. For me, it's everything connected together that I'm excited for. So picking 3, there's obviously like the big ticket ones like engineering that affects everything, but ultimately it's everything connecting as one and just living in this world where daily you come in and you're checking in on how your outpost is going and what the other org members are up to and how they are and what they need, and just there's so much to it. In all fairness, Death of a Spaceman is to be one of the big ones, and I hope it is still encompassing in the way that it still discourages the mindlessness of just rushing in with respawning and so forth, you know, and having ships to respawn in. I like the idea of, especially with this place, one of the things that I love about the Onyx facilities is you can't just respawn in there. You know, you can't really have a spawn outside and then keep rinse repeating. That's the benefit of it not having an entrance outside of having to fly in the hangar. If you die, you're yeeted out of there and you've got to make your way back in another ship. You can respawn on the outskirts, but you can't get back in, you know, if you had a vehicle out there. And I really like that. I really like that that sense of threat. And if you make a mistake, you're punished. The only downside is, right now we're in alpha, so that punishment is more of a hindrance because you're probably going to die because of a bug. Yeah, we're not quite ready at that point yet. And hopefully by the end of this year, with all the optimizations and things and bug fixing, not optimizations, but bug fixing, quality of life, hopefully by the time we get to the end of this year, we're somewhat ready to start seeing that roll out and be more punishing. Yeah, true, Sonny. Although I'd like to be able to get on board someone who is dealing in slam and arrest them. Big question is engineering just in components and fuses, or will it include gravity and atmosphere? So when it first... it's hard to say. I don't know about gravity. There is a gravity generator. When we get engineering in the tech preview, it might be life support components, so like power, heat management. I can't think beyond that one. I don't think it's going to let necessarily... I mean, it might be incorporating gravity, but for some reason in my head I recall them saying it won't, but I might be just me plucking something out of nowhere. So eventually it will, where, you know, the gravity generator is there to produce gravity. If you enter a ship and it hasn't got the gravity generator running, then there will be no gravity, and you have to pull yourself through, or EVA through, or eventually mag boot through to the engineering section or whatever to get it powered on. But yeah, it's, you know, batteries and so forth. But life support will be. Atmospheres, venting, fire, that's the other thing. There will be, you know, fires breaking out. Getting all your ship and items to max level using crafting will be a core progression, and then drains like bases and ship upkeep. Yeah, absolutely. It's at the end of the day as well, crafting is going to be a money pit, because it depends on how you approach it and the available resources you have to you. You might actually have someone who is really good adept at getting the highest quality items, maybe even just the highest quality steel or whatever, you know, and you will constantly hire them to pull it in. If you're wanting to craft something, there's probably going to be quite a few items for that recipe that you're not, you know, you're not just all going to go off. You're not going to go off and just mine that and refine that and get that. I mean, some people will, of course, but at certain scales, you want to have a group of people doing it, or at least people that you can buy this stuff from. So, yeah, it's going to be a big part of it all is crafting. But as you say, money drains will be things like upkeep of ships, bases, equipment. Until we get real boarding, I can't wait to board ships multiple times with a size 8 shell on the Medusas on the Perseus. You what? Oh, mighty. I'd have no idea what you're about there, mate. Hawk, welcome. It's a threat of loss of time. Just let people respawn in the lobby. If they run out of ammo, that'll be on them. No, I disagree. I think there needs to be... right now, fair enough. It can be a bit of a pain when, you know, a bug happens or whatever, and it's all for testing. But I really like the fact that if And it's getting more and more like it, where if you make a mistake or you're not prepared, you get punished. That needs to be the case. A loss of time is definitely where we're at right now. So understandably, that threat is not as necessary. But it needs to be tested at some point. Not right now, because we're not quite there yet. But it is certainly going to be a big change for a lot of people when, you know, the loss is more of a threat. Yo, Deeds. Yeah, oh good, thank you. There is no technical reason why they couldn't disable gravity for engineering. The question is whether CIG want to wait for EVA improvements or maybe just want to release engineering in stages for stability reasons. Yeah, I for some reason, I can't remember if I've heard them saying that gravity is not going to be a part of it when it first rolls out. But things like batteries, life support, fire, so atmosphere as well, and venting the atmosphere, and components and power management and heat management is. But I can't remember, for some reason I recall them, or have a feeling like gravity wasn't a thing for the start of it all. But I could be wrong. And, you know, if they did say that, it could have changed since then anyway. I mean, technically, it is just switching off. You know, they have the means to do it. I just don't know if it's something, like you say, will they roll it out in incremental bits or what? Yes, you can buy fuses now. But also, I think there will be different grades of fuses as well. It's not just going to be the one fuse. There's going to be different variations to them, or at least qualities to them. Rachel wants to know if I know where the goo pot is. I don't know if you know those little goo puddings where you have a little glass pot, but we use them for various, like, paint mixing and things. I can't remember where it is. Not a clue. They have said they wanted mag boots along at some point, but it's probably, you know, to start with, it'll be expanding on the EVA system that we saw at CitizenCon a little while ago, where you have the ability to hold and push yourself along, plus having hard points in ships, like we saw the CitizenCon Squadron demo, where he's holding on to things to pull himself through. That will probably be a thing inside ships as well, which they showed off years ago, very, very early on, with a Retaliator, where they went in and EVA'd and, you know, grabby-handed it around. That was a cool little presentation. I love that. Oh yeah, you can currently fabricate fuses, yeah, but you can buy them in shops now. I don't know if it's just Pyro, but I'm pretty sure it's elsewhere as well. Yo, Tummy Time, how you doing? Oh, Grimhex. Yeah, Volos. Salvaging is definitely a very fun way to do things. I really enjoy it. Yeah, pull and push. Fuel jets, as you say, that's something we haven't had yet. Fuel for EVA. Even outfits without EVA jets. So the sort of whole EVA bubble. You've got EVA jets, of course, which will need fuel. You've got your tractor beams, which will allow you to pull and push and whatnot. Provided your multi-tool or tractor beam has a battery capacity, you know, needs recharging. And then you've got the grabby hand kind of thing, and pushing off and, you know, moving away from a place and not stopping. So there's a lot more to come. We just have the basic animations now working, where it feels a lot better, a lot smoother, looks a lot better. But there is so much more functionality left to come in. Remove backspace in item recovery tier 1. Is that what they said? I don't remember. But, oh, she found it. But it will be nice to see that progress as well. I wonder when that'll start rolling out. No, as in, like, so you you put a pair of boots on, and then you clamp to the ground, to the you know, the floor or the wall of a ship, and it allows you to navigate through. if you don't have EVA stuff. Or on the outside of a ship, for example. If you needed to do some repairs on the outside, you could mag clamp along. So currently, we're all the same faction. We're all citizens who can be law-abiding or not, but I think we need a larger dynamic narrative that is driven by a mix of players. Well, I guess that's where the different factions come in. You've got the... Oh, what do they call them? The two guilds that are direct opposites. I can't remember what they call them now, but this is all part of the 1.0 work, right? It's getting it to the point where you have all these guilds and factions that you can work for. That will drive wedges between different groups of players. Oh man, what are they called? The Council, yeah, and the Mercenary Guild. That's the one. Thank you, Rasak. So they're opposing guilds. And if you work for one, you are immediately a target for the other. So that will be part of that. But then you'll also have the naturally occurring relationships between the different player orgs as well. Eventually there'll be an org that we fall out with, I'm sure, but hopefully not for the most part. We won't be able to play as an alien. They've already specified that's not going to happen. Not to say that we can't in maybe a single-player campaign, you know, post-Squadron's 3 chapters, but... yeah, at this time it was, or they've sort of explicitly said that we won't be able to be an alien race. Not to say things won't change in the future, but at this time I'm not expecting it. Anyway, let's carry on with the monthly report. A lot of work on navigation meshes with the links, improving the nav type and metrics. Updates to the tactical point system to prevent points from generating in areas where NPCs are not allowed to stop. That's what you were on about, wasn't it, Flood? For ship AI, updates were made to various movement blocks, while the new flight movement request type was implemented to blend ship movements to splines. A spline is basically just a path that an NPC ship would take or an AI would take, like coming into land or taking off. It just follows that spline. Hopefully this is all part of getting it to the point where NPCs can get into a ship and just take off and go about their business. Yeah, but I mean, in terms of like, are you talking PU there? Or single player campaign? No, the Tavarian won't be playable. There's no, we will not be able to play as an alien race. At the very most, it'll be maybe a single-player campaign where we can. Again, long-term down the line when everything is done, they may find a way to do it. But as it stands right now, there is no intention of letting anyone play as any form of alien. Mostly it's down to metrics, you know, fitting the seats and so forth, and the clothes and everything that gets designed to work. But, yeah. As it stands right now, I wouldn't expect it. For the animation team, they progressed with a new... Hang on, let me just skip this bit of the music, because it's like 3 minutes of nothingness. Updates were made to various movement blocks, while a new flight movement request type was... Oh, I've just read that one. What am I on about? The animation team progressed with a new ship enter and exit template animation alongside pickups for bespoke gameplay features for an upcoming PU release. So, firstly, we've got this new enter and exit template for a new ship. So it's going to be an additional way of getting in and out of a ship beyond just climbing up a ladder and jumping into a seat. Not sure what ship that's for. I think it's a bit late for the Kruger one, so I can't imagine it's that one. But could be an alien ship, who knows. But the pickups for a bespoke gameplay feature for an upcoming PU release. I'm not sure what that is, but it does sound pretty interesting. Yo, high def. No, base building is not going to be a this year thing. I'm sure we will get updates on it at CitizenCon. I don't think we're going to see any form of actual gameplay for us. At the very best, it's potentially going to be like a tech preview test, but I wouldn't even expect that. I think until we get crafting, base building isn't going to come in. We need the inventory stuff. We need crafting. Before we get crafting, we're not going to see anything base building. It's most likely going to be a next year thing, I would say, at best. But hopefully we'll see crafting this year, or at least some, you know, a tech preview of that. Yeah, long-term expect. We're talking years and years away, if at all, with playing as an alien race. The facial animation team progressed with content from June's PCAP shoot, or performance capture shoot, which includes many new mission givers and a mini-boss. Again, it could be related to the boss they were speaking about recently. I don't know, though. They also worked with the narrative to create and finalize animations for various TV broadcast characters that will populate the verse, including James Herriman, which is Jared's character. I really like the fact that they're going to have these TV broadcasts. I think it's the best way to present news in the verse in a sort of immersive way. I really like walking around and seeing these TV screens blasting out, because it does fill that silence that you don't get in a city. So it kind of helps with that. The new ship is a storm wall. You're walking through its mouth. Oh, yes. No, I have seen that one, actually, Flood. Okay, yeah, that's the leaked James Herriman thing. Yeah, maybe do the first quarter patch of next year with a lot of these features. I don't know, though. I think a lot of these features, we're getting to the point now where tech previews are a must, because of how influential these features are in many areas of the game. So unless they are able to do, you know, tech preview of all these different features, I think it's still going to roll out. And again, it depends on their intentions for next year. If this year is quality of life, stability, and playability, where they get to at the end of this year, will that be then we need more of that, or we are now at a point where we can start rolling out these features? But hopefully we're at that point and they can start actually rolling out many of these features once it's had enough testing. So yeah, I think next year, early and throughout, we are going to start seeing these features roll out. But it does really depend on just what is their target for what they consider playable, stable, and bug-free. Not bug-free, but, you know, fixed. Like the worst of the worst. Done. And then, you know, you've got dynamic meshing as well. Is that going to be a this year thing around CitizenCon? Is it something they're going to aim for this year? Or is it going to be, it's most likely going to be next year? But I guess on Thursday we may hear about that. We haven't got them this week yet, have we? But, yeah, there's just so many big ticket features that are in the works that just require more testing before they roll out, because, you know, they don't want to do what they don't want to spend all this time getting the game stable and playable and then throwing out a feature like engineering and it just destroying everything, right? So it's definitely, and that will hold up getting these features in, because they need to be thoroughly tested, and then I'm sure when they throw it in anyway, it's going to break a lot of stuff. So it's, yeah, we'll see how it goes. But what we have right now, I am thoroughly enjoying. The downside for me is just the amount of time, the amount of patches we get resetting anything. So I, you know, to a degree, so I can't just live off grid for the entirety. But I'm really enjoying the cadence that we have, the amount of content we're getting, and narrative that we're getting, things to do together as an org. So when they start rolling out these features on top of that, it's just going to be so much better. Yo, Inquisitor, how you doing? The Mirai Siren just published. What do you mean? Oh, it's in your own stuff? Oh, welcome, Scott. How you doing? Are you able to relax now, Inquisitor? Oh, yeah, and Squadron. That's true. There is that. Yeah, they're not. Attention is on Squadron. It's probably a lot of the reason why they're making it playable, the PU anyway, in putting it into a much better state is because Squadron is to be presented, right? So they want people coming over and not seeing this kind of mess that the veterans are like, I'm used to it. They want to be able to welcome new players and it not be a nightmare for them. But I should say, yeah, Squadron is going to be a big part of next year. Hopefully, anyway. It's a different way of developing a game. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It really is. We have the ability to test and see and experience all this really cool stuff that sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And that has the knock-on effect of delaying things, pushing things back, but at the same time we're helping to find bugs that would only be found during beta sessions. And I just think a game like Star Citizen can't really be developed behind closed doors without having access like we do. It's too big a game to risk developing it all behind closed doors and then suddenly, boosh, you know, here is all this problem. So yeah. Yeah, that just means it's going to be on the 421 build, Rickan. We spoke about that earlier. I was like, what does this even mean? We've sort of determined that it just means it isn't going to be in the 4.3 build, it's going to be in the 4.2 build, so don't expect anything too far beyond it, you know. You'll start to worry about that slipping if we don't see anything about it at CitizenCon. Oh, yeah. I'm sure we'll get an update on Squadron at CitizenCon, for good, for bad. I hope it's still intended for 2026, and I hope they reveal a bit more about it. They keep it exciting, but secretive, because I literally just watched yesterday and the day before. I did it in, you know, split watch sessions, the gameplay thing again from CitizenCon. It's so cool. Well, that's the reason why they're making CitizenCon virtual. Not necessarily just Squadron, but also they just want to knuckle down and fix what we have, so that the people who would spend a good amount of time creating presentations are just focused on building the game. Like, it's a double-edged sword. I love these big CitizenCon events, especially attending them and seeing all this really cool stuff presented, but it obviously takes a lot of way from just the general development because they're having to present it. Not to say that, you know, they're taking a lot of time out. They're obviously working on the feature to get it presentable, but it's still, you either get it and or you don't, and you know, they keep working. That's true. Yeah, his next talk hopefully this week. We'll see what he says. No, I wouldn't be shocked if they pushed it back again, but I do hope they don't. I don't think CIG... I don't think, you know, people's... like, it's not going to be make or break, because eventually it'll release, and it will be what it's supposed to be, and people will come back. But it will certainly drop massively in terms of how many people are interested, and the sentiment and so forth, which is obviously a big impact. But at the end of the day, when it does eventually come along, people will play it. They'll say, I'm never playing that again, and then they will. But, you know, it just doesn't do it very well if it doesn't come out. Well, yeah, they've gone around in circles in terms of, you know, giving dates, not giving dates. The fact that they gave a date, or a year, for Squadron tells me that there must be some legitimacy behind that because of how reluctant they are at giving dates. But at the same time, they've done it in the past, so who knows? We will see. There's no way of telling. Anyway, character art team spent the month creating new armors and armor variants, while the concept art team prepared handoff sheets and began the exploration phase for new flight suits. Again, Starware. Where is Starware? I want to see it. I'm very excited for when our armor has more purpose and trade-offs, and it's suited to certain roles. I guess maybe FPS scanners and signatures are probably waiting for that so that the helmets can be functional, but I don't know. For the economy team, they were analysing the recent poll. They reviewed engagement metrics for the new content introduced this year with the aim of balancing it in a way that is both fun and fair. They're also trying to make the game more accessible, with the team adding ammunition for the most used FPS weapons in the shops in the verse, to more shops in the verse. So if you use quite a niche weapon. Good luck finding ammunition for it. But ammo for the more special or rarer weapons will still be remaining exclusive. I think eventually there'll just be places to buy it, craft it, and whatnot. But right now, I think it's trying to create a bit more of an interesting element to looting and whatnot, which I don't mind, especially with the trade meats that we have. Yeah, medical armor, absolutely. Have you seen snow at Bloom yet? I haven't checked it out. Your people need you, Tomato King. Okay, mate. I'll catch you next time, sir. No, that's true. If it was all behind closed doors, they would not have got the funding. That's a very good point. It is that constant, you know, seeing what's happening that is keeping a lot of people feeding the beast. Let me just get some water. This fridge makes some really weird sounds. Almost like pipes cracking. I hope it's not pipes cracking. That's not what you want from a fridge. Oops. I don't recommend pouring liquids around any electrical equipment, by the way. So don't do as I'm doing. I'm a trained professional when it comes to pouring liquids. That's better. Well, yeah, I mean, we see it with so many games, don't we? Big games as well, getting delayed. But eventually it releases and it does fine. But I would certainly be disappointed. Of course, I want it out next year. Oh, you could be right about the inventory system. Yeah, maybe. I hope not, though. Yeah, when we get crafting, it'll be the world will be swimming in ammo. It doesn't matter where they're sold. We will have our go-to buyers. Even with monthly reports, CIG have always been secretive with Squadron. Yes, yeah. Intentionally, right? Now, the mission design team, they spent the time monitoring the resource drive event to see how players interacted with it. Plus fixed small exploits and helped to fix the mission generation system. And as we sort of been saying, I suspect they have gathered a lot of very useful information from this resource drive event. Both from when it works fine, but a lot from where it's been breaking. Plus, it reveals a lot of behaviors from players that should help to figure out what kind of security measures will be required in the future. So seeing how people behave exposes that as a problem. They can then at least have that data and that information to work on it to stop it from happening like that again. Yeah, at the end of the day, when we see these ship trailers, they're sort of trailers for the intention of where the game is going, for where that ship is going to perform once the game is done, rather than where it is now. But of course, to a lot of people, understandably, that's very misleading. But for me, obviously, coming from where I'm coming from, I'm just like, it looks cool. Like, they sell that ship, it looks cool, it funds the game. But yeah, understandably, a lot of people are very much like, that feels like false advertising. What's my thoughts on the M2 and the C2? Welcome, by the way, Bunda. I suggest it's based more on what you're planning to do. I don't know enough about the differences. If anyone can help with what the differences are between the M2 and the C2. I know the... is it the M2 is the military version with less... more armor, less cargo space, whereas the C2 is you know, and less weaponry... or more weaponry, sorry, than the C2. But it's more a case of if you're going to be transporting goods around a dangerous area, then you would go for the C2. Sorry, the M2, provided you have someone to help, maybe. But at the same time, we don't have armor in yet, but there's probably more health pool for the M2 than the C2. But if you're just doing basic trades, go with the C2. End of the day, the M2 is probably the better one right now, but it depends on if you want that extra storage versus, I suppose, hit points. Long term, it'll make more sense with damage and so forth. Oh, absolutely, Lucados. But they need to see these types of behaviors to know how to counter that and stop it from happening where necessary, right? Yeah, it's more of a personal decision, really, Bunda. It's kind of what you prefer. Eclipse, welcome. Perseus, yeah, no idea when it's coming, but I'm hoping it's going to be IAE. Certainly feels like it's potentially going to be IAE. The mission design team also looked at old locations that weren't included in the 4.0 refactor and don't currently have missions associated with them. And once they finish their work on this, we will then start to see existing combat missions take place at these locations. Finally, for the mission design team, they supported 4.3 deliverables by creating missions that encourage players to engage with new content. Wakolo also received new missions and new cosmetics and more balancing tweaks, and work began on the Accept mission in World system, which is on the 4.3 release viewer, which is basically called Mission Pickup on Location. So you could go to a location, and then while you're there, based on your proximity to a location, you might get a mission pop up to do something. It could be something as simple as like, oh, repair this while you're here. You know, you could go to the Onyx facility and it's like, oh, could you repair these pipes? But I would love to see more of that, but less about combat, as always, and more about going to a settlement, for example, and needing to move some boxes about, or fix something up, or go and get some resources for a particular person who lives there, or, you know, just simple day-to-day missions where you can go and live there. I realise for most people, which is why we haven't seen them yet, it's probably going to be quite boring, and that's why they favour the more bigger combat-orientated or profession missions, but yeah, that's just me. Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it, Lucados? You've got long-term benefits and disadvantages versus short-term ones, and it is just a case of, you know, they're building a game that we are able to play now that will also be very different in the future, but they need to branch between that and aim for short-term, mid-term, long-term changes, and they often clash and don't always work. World premiere. Yo, Mac user. Oh, talking of, well, not world premiere, but tomorrow, the Alien Earth series kicks off with a double episode. I'm half inclined to just wait for them all to come out so that I can binge them, but that's not going to work anyway, so I'm going to watch them. Going to watch them as they come. Very excited for that. What's the base building changes? Sounds super dope. Would love to see a Dune-like base system. I don't know what the Dune-like base system is, but if my suggestion is watching the... we probably have a link to it, but CitizenCon Crafting Your Base panel, I think it's called, where they talk about their plans for it, which is planet-side bases, and then they also move on to Destination My Stars 1.0 panel, where they talk about building space stations and handling space stations. It is definitely going to be a feature that draws in probably the most amount of people is base building. But we're still talking a little way off before we get it, but they are heavily invested in working on it and very excited about, you know, pushing that out. So it's kind of, it feels more like one of those fast track features where there's all these other features and things that the original Star Citizen was concepted about, but it's like, but base building, which I'm not complaining about. I'm happy for that. I just hope space stations aren't required to be in orbit. Oh, they can be placed anywhere. Yeah. That you can build them anywhere. You don't have to build them in orbit. So you could go into the middle of nowhere and set up a base there, and and just work away on it in your own time. Yeah, so as Rasak says, in terms of base building, it's not going to be like walls, floors, windows, doors, roofs. They are more like prefabricated units that you build, you connect, and expand on. And to start with, the amount of variety between the architecture will probably be quite limited. And then over time they will expand on that. The architecture will be lore-based as well, though, where it will sort of make sense to the location, maybe even blueprints, so you can travel around the verse and pick up different blueprints, I would expect. But yeah, until we see more on it, it's just all what we've been told right now. Narrative got deeply involved in 4.3, it says, getting it ready for release by refining and tweaking mission text, objectives, UI screens, and branding to deliver a cohesive narrative experience at the new location, which I believe they're talking about, the Onyx stuff. And in all honesty, as much as there's, like, with any location we get, there's pros and cons, the actual set building and location, you know, art, lighting, the visuals, the flow of the location, the different sections and how big they are, I am very impressed with the Onyx facilities. And you know, it just goes to show that they can put together these really, I mean, we saw it with Hathor, Lazarus. There's so many cool points of interest coming in now. And the Onyx stuff does look very cool when exploring it. I'm excited to see more derelict places. Do you have any plans for building the space stations with the SM Borg? Oh, no, absolutely. The plans that I have, which is just my plan so far, I've not even consulted with what the org wants to do. Well, we've spoken about it, but obviously there'll be other options for all of us to take part in. But I would like to have multiple headquarters, which are either industrial facilities or you know, like sort of forward operating industrial facilities where they're either tactical locations or useful logistical locations for various reasons, but also a headquarters where the majority of the main operational running will be handled. But then I suspect a lot of us will just be dotted around, so we'll need multiple headquarters where we can run the operate the org. We'll also have towns and settlements scaling in size in high-sec locations where you can come along, you can build your own base. There will be taxes involved with that, where if you want to build a house there, you may have to pay towards the actual cost of the land, because it's not for free in high-sec places, but it'll be like a town. We will have various other structures there, shops and so forth. But then out and about, there will be multiple places where we may need to build varying timescale locations. So locations that are just sort of pop-up shops for extracting ore or providing security or a fob or just something that is a temporary small duration time where it just pops up with a few structures and buildings to log in and out of, store things, repair things and whatnot. And then we will have maybe longer term stuff depending on the scale of, like, a mining operation. It might be a huge deposit of ore that will require weeks, months or longer to mine it all, and we'll have to have multiple buildings, security and so forth. But of course there will be space stations being built. It really depends on how much time and effort they take to build to how many we will have going at one time. It might just be one at a time on top of the buildings that we have going as well. But I don't want to spread us too thin. I want to make sure that we are doing it as a group, maybe having 2 or 3 places being built at the same time, provided it doesn't take or spread the resources too thinly. But yeah, over time we will build more and expand and just, yeah, can't wait. It's going to be so cool. A hot dog shop on Microtech. Hey, why not? It's all about those double dogs. The eventual combination of building and exploring is your ideal gameplay loop. I don't think there's going to be enough time in the world to cover all the stuff that I want to do. I just have to jump in and enjoy what I do, and just hope that I find time to go and explore, as well as be multiple accounts. That is the way to do it. Oh yeah, we need to build that Bengal, APOC. You will be the pilot, my friend. You'll be training. We need you to train up other people in the org as well on how to fly these capital ships. Scared me for a second there. But yeah, you know, handling these big ships, we need your expertise and guidance. Maybe we'll have a training session one day on how to fly them. Absolutely, Sonny. Porco, how you doing? Welcome. The resource drive is a test to see our willingness to move materials. Well, I don't think they're testing our willingness. I'm pretty sure they know that we are all very much wanting to do these kinds of, you know, logistical endeavors. It is, a lot of it is probably economy testing and different types of gameplay, like industrial stuff. And, you know, open-ended gameplay for multiple types of gamers. Yeah, multiple characters per account. Yeah, that's true. If that's still the intention, that'll be quite handy. High quality food and drink might be the most sold player item, funnily enough. Well, maybe. Yeah, I think a lot of it will be weapons and armors and ships and, you know. But yeah, day-to-day stuff, food and drink, having that in NDA and or NDI and HEI levels at the highest peak. Wing, how you doing? Welcome. Rob a bank, become a hermit. Absolutely, that's the way to do it. We'll have a cook. We'll have someone who's good at that. Yeah, Apox Flight School Academy for capital ships. The do's and don'ts. Absolutely. I'd like to use my reclaimer as well as an org test or training ship for salvage, so people can come on board having, you know, experienced crew alongside new crew who are learning the ropes and being shown what to do. I think that'll be kind of cool. Now that who are we talking about? Narrative crafted mission text and placeholder scripts for several gameplay scenarios that will be introduced later this year. Very interesting. Very aloof. They also began filling in additional details for an upcoming hang on, is that upcoming locations or an upcoming location? Let me just double check. I think it was just the one. Yeah, for an upcoming location. So they began filling in additional details for an upcoming location, so a singular location, honing specifics to further guide art and design as they populate it with locations and gameplay. It's a strange sentence. But like I say, there's all these points of interest coming in now, which is expanding on the potential places for missions to take place. It's making it really cool for me, who I just like to go and explore them and find, you know, what's been going on. It's pulling people around the universe. But we are still yet to see the clusters and the sectors. So it's kind of adding them by hand until we get clusters, which are multiple places, and then they expand to sectors on the planets that need them. They're not going to be, you know, cluttered everywhere, just the places that are supposed to be populated, or canoned, you know, retconned to be populated. Which I just can't wait to be, you know, with engineering, you might crash land somewhere and actually stand the chance of walking to some place to get rescued, rather than just being in the middle of nowhere, even though it's quite easy to get rescued. I guess what would be really helpful and improve daily gameplay would be to purchase inventory such as food and drink directly into the storage locker of your galley. Yeah, they do want that. So when it comes to, you know, your landing services or hangar services, they want you to be able to, if you want to, buy everything individually, display everything individually, if that's your intention. But there will be ways to fill up your galley with items, you know, immediately by buying it. There may be like a time dilation associated with it, but yeah, that's something they do want. And yeah, armory, I mean, I don't know when we're getting armor lockers. That is something we have all been dying to get for a long while. So hopefully we're not too far off of that. But of course, every appropriate ship needs to get locations for those lockers slapped in. If you reread that location line, it's for sure reads like Nick's, because it's a location that has multiple locations populating it. You what? They began filling in additional details for an upcoming location, honing specifics to help further guide art and design as they populate it with locations and gameplay. Actually, Yeah, now you mention it, this isn't like an upcoming point of interest that they're talking about. It sounds more like it is a place that holds a lot of other locations. Let me make a note there and readdress that sentence. Thank you there, Flood. That's a good catch. And they're guiding art and design. Who are the people who would be populating a system with locations and gameplay? That's you know, an upcoming location that has locations in it. It's not like a Hathor building. Good point. Thank you, mate. Yeah, very probable. Very probable indeed. Bad luck, welcome. You haven't looked at Star Citizen for about a year. Has playability content improved? Yes. Yeah, very much so. It's there's still bugs, there's still issues, there's still, you know, problems that need to be resolved, but at the end of the day, what we have now is far more playable, enjoyable. There's a lot more stability, a lot more performance, both client and server side, and they're also spending this year with narrative, really fleshing out more content, gameplay, things to do. So definitely check it out again. Whether it's at the point where the bugs, the problems get in the way still, or whether it's something you can be like, I can get past that. That is, you know, up to you. But definitely try it again. You can't get off the transit. I haven't had an issue with transit for so long. When was it that they... The last time I had a problem, I can't remember when it was. It was a few months ago. But I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm sure they absolutely do, because they're still working on the transit refactor. And yeah, I've had a lot of problems with trains in the past and elevators, but of late, the last few months and few patches, I have not had a single problem with transit. Freight elevators, yeah, that's a pain in the ass, but yeah, everything else seems fine. When was the last time you tried it, Texas? Welcome, by the way. And Vicious Beans, how you doing? Sometimes trains will fly off to Narnia, but they always connect. But yeah, like you kind of go on this really weird ride, and you're like, oh, here we go. But they always make it these days. It's been a long while since I've had an actual problem. Oh yeah, did you get a transit pass? You got to buy those. Kevin, how you doing? I only had one issue with elevators the other day, but yeah, it's been... What was the issue, Kev? What happened? I can't remember when it was that it was bad, but it was the minute they said, oh, we're working on a transit refactor, they'd kind of fixed it to the point where I wasn't having any more problems, and part of me was like, just do the social refactor first. The trains and the elevators seem fine again. But no, have another go and see what it feels like now, because, you know, since 4.0's painful time, it's been getting better and better. The only real problem we've had of late has been this latest patch, 4.2.1, where specific, like freight elevators specifically and the missions have been a bit problematic for the resource drive, but... Well, I say problematic. They've been basically unplayable for a lot of people for a long time. But if you're not doing that, you're having a lot more fun. Yeah, you can jump in now, play for hours, and be like, holy crap, I played for hours, and I'm actually logging out because I need to go to bed. Or I'm just, you know, I've done what I needed to do, rather than rage quitting or your gameplay being cut short because something's broken. I would as well, Architect. I personally don't see Nyx releasing this year, but I would be over the moon if it did. I just don't see it happening, but, you know, I really hope it does. Now, next we have the online tech team. I don't know what any of this means, really. Well, this first bit I do. Firstly, they've improved how developers report bugs through the crash handler. This is internal, making it more reliable, so it supports a wider range of use cases to help catch and resolve issues faster than ever. The ones I need explanations for is the online services team worked on the STOW context API and supported missions on both the server and game sides, plus tasks for the blueprint library began with API development planned for August. And finally, the team continued their work on discussions on item imprint version 1. Now, a lot of that sounds like gameplay stuff, you know, like blueprints for crafting things, or imprints version 1 for your regen crisis. But I don't think it's anything to do with the actual gameplay stuff. I think it's more tools and tech that they use the same terminology for. But yeah, I don't know. Yo, Stephen, if you hover outside the ASD and then main menu, it will spawn you inside the ASD in a med bed. What on earth? Have you reported that one? Because that certainly shouldn't be happening. There is so much they could show at CitizenCon this year, like progress on Nyx, but it's only 2 hours long. Yeah, it's going to be probably a kind of a deflating CitizenCon. I'm hoping within the 2 hours that they present stuff, it can be updating on progress on where things are that we are all excited for and want to see, and it's close. Rather than, you know, here it is. And I also think a lot of the stuff that we are actually hoping to hear about potentially at CitizenCon, we will already see in a tech preview or sort of rolling out in testing. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes, but I'm not you know, like the last couple of CitizenCons we've had have blown me away. So I'm kind of expecting it to be a bit lackluster in terms of what we've had in the past, but still hopefully very important and informative on where we are. Nyx or engineering can't have both. Well, I mean, you technically could, because they are very different teams working on different things. It's more a case of we can't have engineering, crafting, hacking, you know, all these other things all at once. We can certainly have Nyx and engineering by the end of the year, provided things are working, of course. R&D, here we go. So the R&D team, usually anything with the R&D team, or since they started up the R&D team, which must be a few years now, they've been mostly focused on volumetric clouds, gas giant, you know, big gas clouds, and they did most of the work for getting actual clouds performance friendly, looking great and fluffy, and all the other bits with that. But it says the R&D team's focus has exclusively shifted to analyzing performance and optimizing the engine and game code, which will be their primary focus for the foreseeable future. Now, I don't think there has ever been a sentence that I have been so happy to hear. It is actually pushing performance, not just seeing what they can do, you know, short term, but actually focused on researching and developing ways to improve performance and optimize the engine. And if CIG or anything, you know, anything they've done in the past, they push things to the limit to do things in a bespoke way for their game and hopefully for the industry as well. So we'll see how they get on. I'm expecting magical things. So you believe the imprint is in relation to crafting? Oh, sorry. The blueprint line is 100% crafting. Okay. And I believe item imprint is in relation to crafting as well, how it will assign an item to players. Okay, so it is actually referring then. So the online tech team, which is, you know, a tech team, not a gameplay team. These are like the online tech. You think it is all to do with actual handling the gameplay elements of crafting and the sort of database that's needed to handle all that. Is that correct? Oh, it'll definitely be Squadron stuff. Yeah. A lot of what, I mean, they're probably already well underway with optimizing and Squadron, but it's the engine, it's the game code, it's not just performance. So it'll be both. They will need a service that runs in the background that crafting can hook into. That's what APIs do. Okay, excellent. In that case, that is very exciting. Because when I hear this stuff and I have no idea what it is, I just think that could just be tools that are, you know, background tools that are great for the company when, you know, in terms of streamlining, improving, but when it's actually directly impacting gameplay, that's cool. But you could downgrade your game. What do you mean? Well, in terms of performance buff, Kevin, it's not necessary that Vulkan is going to give a huge performance buff in terms of like client performance. It is unlocking that multi-threading, which will help with many areas, but not specifically client performance. But I'm hoping we'll see a lot of benefits to it. Next will be all about mining and Vanduul raids, so we will need the hull sea improvements and the station exterior cargo elevators. I forgot about those to speed up the large cargo hulls. I am definitely going to be putting together Vanduul. I don't know. I haven't come up with a term for it yet, but you know, being on the Vanduul front and fighting them off, but also having salvagers coming in and taking some pretty interesting things from them. I would like to think. Free speech, how you doing? What happened? What did you say? Not sure if you have discussed this in the Q&A, but one of my main concerns for version 1.0 is that each org has to be aligned to a single faction. What do you mean, aligned to a single faction? There is now less than 5 months left of this year. I don't see them trying to push out next. No, I don't. I personally think it's going to be next year. But, you know, we can hope. Anyway, for the UI team, they supported the upcoming gameplay event, contributing more interactive and environmental screens than ever before. This, again, is probably talking about the Onyx facilities with all the screens in the actual facility that we need to click on and interact with. They also started work on the inventory UI, as seen on StarCitizen Live, with the team saying it's a complex UI that covers several things for future gameplay, so we'll be working on it for a while. And finally, the UI team have created the dashboard UI and MFD UI for an upcoming vehicle, which has several unique features. I'm suspecting it's the Wolf, the Kruger L21 Wolf. Very excited to see that. I don't own a light fighter, so I'm kind of contemplating. I mean, obviously it'll be price dependent, but I'm contemplating whether this will be the light fighter of choice. We'll see. For VFX, their main focus was 4.3, including the new locations, bespoke events, vehicles, and weapons. Plus, they are prepping for 4.3.1 as related tasks start to arrive. Very excited for just seeing where this goes throughout the year. There's so many patches this year. It's crazy. And then for the core gameplay team. Now, if you've watched my latest video, we're just going to delve a bit further into what is being said from core gameplay, because that was the juiciest of the, aside from ships, which I've covered already in a previous video, but core gameplay with all their stuff like engineering, hacking, crafting. Still a lot to do, but you know, they're not that far. Like, engineering is on the cusp of getting into tech preview. We've got crafting where they're figuring out what we're going to get for the first version of it. Hacking, they're working out the tutorial on how to teach us about hacking. This stuff isn't far off, but it is all dependent on how this year is going to go and whether or not they are able to roll out this stuff between now and the end of the year, and how much testing it'll need, as we keep saying. It's not that you can't be aligned to multiple factions, it's that you can't get a buff from multiple factions. You choose a faction to get a buff from. Oh, and you can pick and choose, can't you? Depending on like, you can switch, can't you? I'll have to watch that again, because I think I've forgotten most of what was said there. Yo, Lucas, how you doing? You've been in love with the project ever since you heard about it 2 years ago. Ever since you heard about it. 2 years ago, I was able to play StarCitizen for the first time. I spent $300, and after a year of listening to lies and false hope, I gave up. Now I just watch from the sidelines as the project evolves, and I'm increasingly saddened by it still unplayable. Jump back in again, because it isn't unplayable. I think you're probably watching certain people talk about and show off just things that aren't working well, but actually, the PU is very playable and very enjoyable. Albeit this latest event, if you have been specifically working on this latest event, it has been an absolute nightmare. But overall, the game is the most playable it's been for a long while. So I highly suggest jumping back in again and see where it is at. Your goal by the end of the year is to purchase a Javelin, but I want to know, will it stay at 3,000 or will it go up on release? I don't know. There's a good chance it'll go up. Has it already gone up in price? I think it has, hasn't it? Like 500. Well, it wasn't to start with, Prisoner. Welcome. I just mean at the beginning it was an absolute nightmare where basically everyone was being funneled to the same place. The elevators would instantly break and nobody could get past the first mission. Since then, they've rolled out fixes after fixes and it started to become a lot more playable and a lot more enjoyable. But, yeah, it's... like, if you're not focusing on that event, you know, everything else is working pretty well. You bought it a year ago, it was unplayable, very playable now, still have some bugs, but if you learn the workaround and experience from experienced players in the Discord, it's super fun. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's an alpha, it's a work in progress. There's a lot of problems with it, right? There's a lot of bugs and so forth, and that's always going to be the case until they get to the point where it's optimized and not bug-free. I'm sure there will still be bugs even post 1.0. But in terms of how playable it is, like, from when I backed in 2012 to having nothing, to then going through the days where even 20 frames was amazing, to, you know, I suppose fast forward a lot to 318 and it becoming unplayable, to then it getting a bit better, then 4.0 becoming unplayable, and now we're at the point where it's pretty well optimized in many areas. The server stability is much better. The quality of life is better. The playability is better. We're still dealing with bugs. A lot of them I just don't even notice because I'm so used to working around them. But definitely jump in. And yeah, the lies and false hopes, you've been brainwashed into thinking that everything they say is lies and false hopes. You've been watching the wrong people. It's not lies. It's not brainwashing. They're telling us the best guess at the time that they're doing it. Now, of course, you can choose to feel about it how you feel. I'm not here to tell you how you should feel about Star Citizen or whether you should believe what they say or disbelieve what they say. But yeah, there's a narrative being thrown out there that is just untrue and unfair. They do. A lot of people ride this wave of unplayability and they're probably not even playing themselves. Academy, how you doing? Welcome. I would definitely say, Lucas, jump in and try again. Because, you know, we've had times where, like what Simon's saying there, 315, it started to get a lot better. There was a lot more features coming in. Then 318 took a big nosedive because of literally locking people out from even getting in the game. So that was a big problem because they brought in the database, the persistent database, and it couldn't handle it. So that has finally been rectified. 4.0, which brought static server meshing, as expected, had a bit of a nosedive again. Not quite to the same level as 318, which we don't like to talk about, but it still had a detrimental impact on just playing, and obviously a lot of people stepped away. Which is the right way to do it. You've done the right thing. You know, if you're having a bad time, you step away, you come back later. But since they have rectified, I think it was like 4.1, maybe 4.0.2 or something along those lines, it just started getting fixed and better. And we've had little issues here and there, but all in all, the overall playability is way better than it has ever been. And it is more just individual issues that are cropping up. Like inventory, for example, is an absolute pain in the ass. It is the bane of my existence in Star Citizen. And it just breaks all the time. I'm saying that, it's not been too bad of late. Actually, this latest patch has been pretty fine. But freight elevators have certainly been overworked and are suffering. But yeah, it's certainly worth trying again. But at the end of the day, if you jump in and it's still very much not enjoyable, it doesn't matter what anybody says. If someone's telling you it's a complete broken mess, if I'm telling you actually it works pretty well, it's irrelevant unless you try it for yourself, right? And then you determine whether it is playable for you or not. It is an individual decision to make, and there's nothing wrong with it being either way. It is all just a personal thing where, you know, time is precious. If you want to, like, this is my job, so of course I'm going to put more effort and time in to actually playing and push through the problems because I make a living doing this, so I need to. But for people who actually prefer to play finished, polished games, understandably, they're not going to play Star Citizen and be like, I'm going to stick at that if they're having problems. So try it again. If it is still a big, you know, dealing with a lot of problems, take another break or you know, go a step away for a year, step away for a month or a few months, and then try it again and see where it gets. It'll get there in the end. It is just a case of how long will that be and how much of it do you want to play in whatever state it's in. They have, yeah. AAAs have ruined the idea of what an alpha is. It's very different now. Yeah, it was 4.0. I mean, like I say, it wasn't as bad as 3.18. We've had some absolute nightmare patches, and 3.18 was probably the worst. 4.0 was close, but it was definitely nothing like 3.18. But it has since, you know, server meshing has been a blessing. It has made it so much better. Wonko, how you doing, by the way? Welcome. It took you 3 hours yesterday to find a single working freight elevator, so it's still a huge problem. Hopefully, with them extending it into 4.3 and having 4.3 as a main patch to push out these fixes, like proper fixes, not hot fixes, they can actually get it where it's working properly. Oh, Summer's crying. Not sure what's happening there. She's probably really tired. She was up through the night. Well, we were up through the night just checking her temperature. I wasn't. Rachel was actually up through the night. I slept through. I barely hear anything when the fan's going in the room. Having a single part of a massive world not working doesn't make the game unplayable. People can tunnel... Yes, there was one comment was like, I've been doing the same 3 things for however long, and I'm so bored of this game now. And it's like, why are you doing the same 3 things then? Jesus, do something different. Star Citizen isn't a traditional game. You know, and this is why the mission stuff I'm not too bothered about, because that's just traditional gameplay stuff. It really excels with open-ended, you know, thoughtful, like thinking outside the box on how to do something. Organic gameplay and multiplayer stuff. It really shines in those areas. You don't have to do multiplayer, but, you know, organic stuff, open-ended gameplay where you can just kind of do what you want to do, and it really excels there. Yeah, it's been nice not being locked out of the game until the next patch. It helps, doesn't it? It helps to enjoy the game. Yeah, like 4.0, I mean, every you know, 3.18, 4.0, they are necessary stumbling blocks to get to where we are. It's, we needed that tech in, and inevitably it broke a lot of stuff. It was bad. But if you're doing the same stuff that is broken, then of course the game's going to seem broken. You need to get out and explore different areas, different avenues, different experiences, mining, salvaging, hauling, FPS, ship combat, just organic scavenging. Sometimes, some patches, they work better than others. Like, you know, I used to do all this off-grid stuff. Now we're getting a patch every single month. It's not as easy to do because you can't live out in the middle of nowhere without being yeeted back to your main landing zone because of a new patch dropping. So it's like, certain things you just have to stop doing and do something else. Yeah, absolutely. If you choose to feel that they're lies and false promises, then that's your decision, of course. I personally don't feel that way, but I'm not going to tell you you're wrong because it's your opinion. I'd like the game to work, and after 4 hours of grinding, I don't have to worry about losing everything I've achieved. Technically, it's been pretty... I say technically, it's actually been pretty good where you can play for hours on end and not have a problem, but that can still happen. You can still grind away for something, go to a freight elevator, and then boop, things are gone. But like I said, you know, you work you want to play you want to unwind and play a game that is enjoyable because your time is precious. And it might just be that Star Citizen at this point is not ready for you, right? And that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you're doing it wrong. It's just with your lifestyle, with what you want out of a game, you want to switch off, have a good experience, and come away feeling good from it. Not, you know, I've only got a few hours to play, and I'm going to do this, and then it breaks. What am I skipping that for? I meant to skip the music. That is definitely a case-by-case thing for each individual, and that's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. So try it again, see how you feel. Try a few various things. If you're looking to join an org, come and join us, and we'll push you through various gameplay elements. You can join us on our salvage operations where we all go out together and see it from a different perspective, where it kind of doesn't interact with certain elements that are broken. And yeah, I think a lot of it is really just dependent on what you do in game. Some things work better than others. These are the Philips Fidelio something. X2HR. They're quite big for my head, but my head's small. I think at the end of the day, those that know how to do many things in this game are going to get a fair more out of it than those who only want to. Well, yeah, and I think it's you know, if you're a new player, you come in, you're not going to have an idea of what's available in game until you just start plugging away. And then obviously if you're running into bugs and issues, you're just going to be like, forget it, which is absolutely understandable. That's just, you know, a natural reaction to something that doesn't work. Coming in for a landing, getting disconnected, wake up in a hospital on the other side of the system. Oh man, we've had some proper classic bugs though. Ones that literally make you smash your keyboard on your head. But thinking back, it's like, that was quite funny. Yo, Wheezing, how you doing? You just finished work and was watching my crafting video, then prices, you were live. Oh, noticed you were live. I'm doing great, thank you, Wheezing. Thank you so much for watching the video, by the way, and joining us over here, my friend. Much appreciated. The more people you play with, the more fun Star Citizen becomes. Yeah, it does. And it's kind of a shame in a way, because CIG want content for solo players. They want, you know, content for everybody. And it should be fun for everybody, regardless of how you're playing. But right now, certain things are better done than others. Certain professions are better than others. Certain missions are better than others. And playing with a group is like nothing else, especially when you're on board a big capital ship and you've got all these fighters coming in, all these mining ships rolling in, getting unloaded and loaded back up again and taking off, or you get under attack and you come together as a unit and you just annihilate anyone. It's crazy. Oh, of course, Lucas. At the end of the day, mate, thank you for asking, you know, and not just having an opinion based on one person or one out, you know, and just being like, that's it. At the end of the day, there is so much to Star Citizen, and whether it's ready for you or not is the way it is. There's nothing wrong either way. There's people that have been following this. I used to use Sandman as an example. Not anymore, because you play a lot now, but, you know, you would be watching, like, you don't even have to play Star Citizen to enjoy following along the progress. And in fact, having a playable alpha is, as we say, a double-edged sword. It has a lot of negative effects. And even for me, as someone who is completely absorbed by the game and has been since 2012, like already now I'm getting back into learning Xi'an. For some reason, the other day I just suddenly wanted to get back into reading everything and learning Xi'an again, and it's sometimes when I play, I hate Star Citizen because of something that breaks, and then I don't want to think about it, and, you know, the next day I'm like back to it again. It just has that impact on you when things break. But there has been no experience in my life, no gaming experience, like Star Citizen, and I don't think anything else will come close anytime soon. So it is absolutely worth trying again, trying different things, joining in as a group. And if it is bad, get out of it. You know, get out of it and wait for a new patch, wait for a better update. Wonko, thank you so much for gifting Weezing a gift sub there, my friend. Beers and party, please. Thank you, sir. Yeah, most of it, the magic is in development, and it shows at times, but what blows my mind and what has already made me keep coming back and wanted me, you know, made me want to start making content and so forth, is just how, well, not necessarily making content, but because we didn't have anything when I started, but it's, if I'm having this kind of experience in a game that is work in progress, not, you know, even like way before now, what is it going to be like when it's done? And before it's done, you know, we're not talking we have this until 1.0, we have this, then we have that, then we have this, then we have this, then we have this, then we have 1.0. You know, the fact that I'm experiencing that kind of fun is just telling in between all the problems. Yo, Subpar, how you doing? You've been around the Star Citizen community since the beginning. I have spent an absurd amount of money on this project. It's an amazing project, but the cult-like level of Robert's worship is insane. I think, like in most things, and we see this a lot online and social media and stuff, we always see the extremities of both sides. And people cannot see opinion as all it is. An opinion, someone's individual perspective of something. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong because that's their opinion. I think people just, they hear someone saying, this is amazing, and they're like, no, it's not. I've not had that experience. Or they hear people saying, this is terrible, it never works, and they're like, no, it's not. I've not had that experience. And they can't just be like, that's just probably their experience. They have to get into an argument, and they have to keep fighting. To me, I will always sing Star Citizen's praises when they do right, and I think a lot of the time people shoot them down is, oh, don't get me wrong, they have made lots of mistakes, but a lot of the time it's not actually warranted, the complaints. Not saying that every complaint isn't warranted, of course. They have done a lot of nonsense in the past, but most of the time it's through just not paying attention or misunderstanding something or listening to someone say something, another content creator, slate it and be like, yeah, when they actually never felt like that in the first place. But, you know, we all have our experience with Star Citizen, and my experience has been positive with its roller coaster of a ride. But of course, everyone's different. There's my Discord, Weezing. Thank you. And, you know, if you are looking to get into Star... even if you've been playing for ages, but you're mostly solo, certainly try joining the org or a different org and playing as a group, because we have such a laugh together. Just the banter, the enjoyment, figuring things out, working together. So much fun. Yeah, Star Citizen's a game that begs to be shared. Absolutely. Yo, Lester, how you doing? You can't get past the first cargo mission. Is this... which one's this one? Is this, have you got past any of them yet, Lester? I'm hoping with 4.0, they're gonna... 4.3, they're gonna roll out a lot more fixes for freight elevators. Ones that they can't just hotfix in. Because they are extending it into 4.3, so I would say if it's still not happening, wait until there's either a hotfix or a patch for 4.2.1 or 4.3 and sort of get back on it there. In regards to Star Citizen, it's a classic example of the people that hate the game concept screams the loudest and points you don't really hear the good side. Yeah, I think it's just like anything. As I say, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is, and you could be talking politics, you could be talking anything. There are the extremities on both sides, and that's what you hear. You don't have the, let me think about this from a logical standpoint, from a personal standpoint of how I truly feel. Let me just get told what I should feel and go with that. And I'm talking both sides, both extreme positive, extreme negative. People get too misguided. They put too much power in outside sources rather than within themselves to make a decision for themselves. And people are too easily led. On both sides, as I say. Anyway, so let me just have a wee, and then we'll get back to this core gameplay section, the final bit of the monthly report. 2 minutes. I don't know whose idea it was to buy so many pom-poms, but flipping heck, her floor is just a sea of pom-poms of all different sizes, and I'm talking like tiny pom-poms as well. Nightmare. Let me get a coffee, hang on. I'm not cleaning it up. There, I don't seem to have any decaf. Let me just go grab a decaf. I'll be back in a sec. Bear with me. Someone's running around with a fake lipstick that she wants to put on me, and I was like, are they trolling me? Is it? I think it's genuinely fake. Okay. Thank you for the raid, Ship Talk. Much appreciated, my friend. Thank you so much. What are we talking about? The L21 by any chance? Oh, yeah, Lego. Oh, we have tubs for Lego, magnetiles, and all these different things, and thankfully, I'm quite aware at the moment, and we clear up as we go. But it's already happened. I can't remember what it was I stood on, but it certainly hurts. Mostly, it's Summer standing on her own crap and hurting her foot. Hey, dearie me. Capital ships usually have intermediate ships made to help them build them out. Anyone have a hypothesis on what they're cooking for a consolidated outland intermediate ship? Or are they going right for the Pioneer? They're going right for the Pioneer. They're already well underway with building out the Pioneer. And yeah, as Sandman says, in terms of the actual base building progression, the Starlancer build will likely be the one that is the intermediate one, or the medium size. It'll start with the little, cart, building cart. Then it'll go on to the BLD, little vehicle. And then is there something else that I can't remember? Or is it the Starlancer build and then the Pioneer? There will certainly be other ships of varying sizes throughout, Star Citizen's lifespan. But, the Galaxy, yeah, to a point, it'll be the Galaxy. But that's not going to come initially. That'll be a later thing. But yeah, it's just a ground vehicle, isn't it, beyond the little cart. That cart, I can't wait to get that. Loading it into your cutter, and then flying off and making just this tiny little building, having to camp out while it's being built. Although saying that, it's probably going to build it within a game session, if it's a small building anyway. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to experience base building on all scales. You've got solo, just making your own little shack. Some of it will be powered, some of it won't be, so that I can remain off-grid and out of the prying eyes, and then all the way to space stations with the Org. Shame it was fake. When she sort of came over to me, I was like, oh no, I'm streaming, not right now. And then Rachel was like, oh, it's fake, don't worry about it. So I was like, go on then. And then as she was pretending, I thought, is she having me on? Is she actually joking about this being fake? And I'm going to come up here with some weird lipstick smudge everywhere. You're most hyped for player shops. I can't wait for our org settlement to have our designated shops to sell things to, org member discount rates, of course, but non-org members, and oh man, and then traveling around the verse and bumping into other people's shops, scrapyards. I can't wait for that. Oh, that was something that did I even mention it on this monthly report? Where the narrative team, it was a very important sentence, and we've sort of spoken about it briefly, and I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but the narrative team crafted lore for a new ship seller, who the narrative team hopes will be a fun addition in the verse. Now, although I'm not expecting all of this, there are certain areas that this could, that CIG want, that this could allude to. I don't think it's going to be a new ship dealer like Astro Armada or New Deal. I think it's going to be an individual, potentially, either legal or illegal. Maybe secondhand, maybe allowing us to sell back the ships that we've bought in game. Or maybe even claiming them as our own. Because they have said that they want, to get to the point where you find a ship, or pirate a ship. If you pirate it, you've got to pay to get it, registered as your own. If you find a ship, you'll have to pay to get it registered as your own, but it's obviously a game rules ship. I really hope that this is actually leading to... Personally, I would prefer a second-hand dealer where you can buy rough, used ships, or a place that you can sell the ships you've bought in-game back to. I think that would be cool. And if it was Scooter, even more so. Yeah. They need to get Scooter doing it. But yeah, I forgot to mention that, actually. It could be neither of that. It could just be another ship dealer. But they say, we hope people will have fun with this, and so I hope it is something beyond just another ship dealer. Mercer, welcome. The only thing that I hope from base building is that you can make your base look good, functional, and good to defend. Not easy, but fun. Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of that will be determined by where you build it, right? If it's in high sec, very easy to defend. If it's in null sec, chances are it'll be easy to defend, provided you create and power the protection that you can create there, like turrets and things. But yeah, base building looks, it'll be pretty much predetermined visuals that there will be, as time goes on, more and more architectural styles available. But they will be prefabbed. You won't be able to really design it outside of maybe different skins, different colors, and brand logos and things. But yeah, it's not like with the org headquarters and cities or villages. We're not just going to plonk it down. We're going to come up with I might even do a bit of studying of how to make a town functional in terms of like where things and buildings and layouts are, so that it actually makes more sense. But we can do that together. I'm sure people in the org know a lot about that stuff. Yeah, Penguin, agreed. As much as it's cool having Wakullo, I have no interest in grinding that much for anything he has to offer. Yeah, even 50% off. But yeah, a stolen ship fence, it could certainly be something like that, Samurai. I know they that is something they want for both, for pirated ships, but also, found ships, being able to pay and get your name on the deeds as such. But I don't know how far we are from that kind of stuff. Well, no, I think, like, visually, I'm assuming when it comes to base building, as long as you've got the actual blueprint and the resources for that blueprint, for whatever that architectural design is, you can build whatever you want. Obviously, like you say, if you're in high-sec, you will have planetary shielding instantly, provided you're paying your taxes. So you won't have to worry too much about scattering defenses around, making it look a little less homely. But yeah, in low sec or null sec, you will need to have proper defenses. But you can still use the same architecture, provided you've got the resources that particular blueprint or design needs. A lazy Banu trader. Yeah. Yo, get good. How you doing? What is more stable to play now? Live. Yeah, don't. Thank you, Mercia. Appreciate that, my friend. Beers and party, please. The PTU is a test universe, even more so than what the Persistent Universe live build is. You want to jump on live, stick to live for now. The PTU is just there for testing what's coming up in the future, but it's generally a lot less stable and problematic. A lot of alleyways. Yeah, I like the idea of that. Kind of like a European town. Yeah, fair enough. Thank you for the follow, by the way, Get Good. If you've got any more questions, mate, ask away. 4.3 Live is going to be a mess. What makes you say that? I love the idea of being able to build in Pyro as a pirate, or in Stanton as a law-abiding citizen. You have to defend yourself in Pyro, but on Stanton, you have defense set up, isn't it? Yeah, well, kind of. You don't have to build in Pyro as a pirate. You can just build in Pyro and live there. But ideally, you would want to build in a place where you're less likely to be seen, because defending yourself will be harder. You won't have like planetary shields instantly anyway. You might have to fight for those if you want them. But for Pyro, I will be building little shacks in like forests and woods, and I will probably not power them on if every powered building is going to have a big thing shooting out the roof, a big light. I'll just have them unpowered, where I'll put my own little lamps inside it, or battery-powered flares and things. They are going to be different. Unless you've got the resources to defend yourself, you are going to want to build different buildings in different areas. But, in nullsec, you might find really good resources to mine and need some form of outpost, and you want to do that in a bit of a safer, secure way. Yeah, it's bedtime. She's probably super tired as well, to be fair. You could bet your camping gear I'm going to make multiple Copian rugs and mount quasi grazer heads on the wall. Oh boy. Walking into this really eerie, like, hunter's shack. It'll be kind of cool, like, having, I suppose, like, I don't know if visually, architecturally, it'll look like this. I hope we can get things like wooden shacks, but a small settlement where you have hunters' shacks on the outside to provide sustenance for those inside. So, you know, any wildlife, you can hunt them, bring them into the cook. That would be kind of cool. You want Binks' head above your fireplace. What, with his bright green dreads? Like, you remember this one. What a lovely room of death you have here. Oh, I have to watch those films again. It's been so long. You could definitely see one of those pyro main planets will turn into a player war zone with base building. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, you know, like all these tanks are pointless and all these other ground vehicles are pointless. When we have actual land to fight over for resources, for just ownership or whatever, combined arms battles and wars, long duration wars between orgs are going to be happening a lot, you know, just for that little bit of ground, that little bit of area that they want to take. And it is going to be a constant battle, like with the whole space station gameplay for the shielding, which I'm not really fussed about. I'm not going to be like, oh, let's try and get that. We'll just do what we can, unless we want to, of course. I'm not too fussed, but others might. But yeah, there is going to be roadworks. There is going to be war zones. Roads are definitely going to be a part of that. And actually, the logistical side of things, especially if you're building in nullsec with fobs and protections, you're going to want roads connecting these fobs so that your supply lines are as quick and smooth as possible, rather than having, you know, big old messes coming along. Do you speak to the Copian? Do you call it at home? Welcome, Patrick. I speak to Jean. What's that, Lester? You haven't, but you'll try again. Sorry, what were we talking about there? Yeah, big org base. I mean, so you've got to think, someone trying to establish a big org base, if they can freely, throughout the whole development process, build that base with all the, you know, defenses, then great. They've got their foothold and they're established there. But all the while they're building, there's probably going to be other, you know, orgs coming in and raiding. And the cool thing is, it's not just going to be a case of just coming in and dropping a bomb. There will be things in place to stop that, even outside of shielding. Yeah, remarkable. Thank you for the follow. You know, just turrets. Turrets will shoot bombs out of the sky before they even land. If you're going to want to drop a bomb on a place, you're going to have to sneak in first and take out the AAs. So there will be areas that are in constant conflict. But then there'll be others that aren't, and it just depends on what you want to do. Yeah, lots of barracks, lots of resources. Again, we're not playing an armor scenario that has been pre-set up, and you've got all your vehicles, you know, set at the start point, and the enemy are set at their start point, and then you just roll in, and you know, you're having to supply everything yourself. Resources are a huge part of that. Fuel, food, ammunition, repair, building resources, everything. It's all going to need, all these logistics are going to need to be thought about even before you start getting attacked. So if you start getting attacked, then you're going to need everything else. And it's not even like, you know, well, I know they spawned in over there, so they're going to come in there. They could be coming from behind, they could be coming from above. Oh, it's going to be huge. Chicken curry dinner, is it, Paul? Sounds good, mate. What's the name of your org? Because the name is far, far more important than the community surrounding it. SM Bog. right now. Exclamation org. And you're more than welcome to join in. We often have org stuff going on. In fact, is there anything? I think Deacon's taking a day off today because he's knackered. But Nexus, you can join in with Nexus. And it looks like Iggy. They're, I think, doing the org grind. Is that what you're up to right now? But yeah, in terms of events, what we've got going on. So tomorrow it's event grind with the Idris, where Deacon will be taking out the Revenant, Resident Idris, the Revenant. And you can join as crew, help to grind towards completing the resource drive. On Friday, it's saying an SMB trade group, but I'm thinking we will probably do the salvage op, if you're up for that, Deacon. and then leave that trade. Oh no, that's this Friday. We can do that next Friday perhaps. And then on Saturday it looked like the SM Borg trade meet, but off stream. Oh, it's cancelled, is it? Oh yeah, you did it last Friday. Yeah, we do that every fortnight. Is the 16th trade meet on? And yeah, everyone is welcome. Whether you are brand new, a veteran, it doesn't matter. Come in, have fun, take part. If you are new to orgs and things like, I was never a multiplayer person when I started StarCitizen. I was always preferable of solo stuff. And it's a great org for just getting you used to comms, getting you used to how it all functions and playing together. You don't need to talk. As long as you can hear us, that's important, but you don't need to talk to us. Road trains with the roads. Oh, could you imagine having, like, caravans going from settlement to settlement? That'll be cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, Sonny. Whenever we get that Apex Valakar in-game, whether there's an event tied to it or not, we're going to go out and we're going to take part in that. Oh, of course, Jones. Happy to have you, my friend. Anyway, it is getting time to wind down the stream, so no Vulcan tests today on the tech preview and FPS AI behavior stuff, unfortunately. That has been pushed to Wednesday, which is what it is. It'll come along and we'll test it, I'm sure. Any message of the day yet? It doesn't seem like there is there? Have we had a message yet? I'm suspecting there is either going to be a 4.3 build, sorry, a 4.3 PTU build tonight, or maybe one tomorrow. I don't know yet, but this week in Star Citizen should be posted today, and it should bring with it Thursday's video. I'm hoping they're still sticking to this. It could have changed, but until we get told otherwise. It'll be with Benoit talking about, I suppose, dynamic server meshing, the progress on that, as well as what they plan to do to help fix VoIP. As I say, that was what they said 2 weeks ago, was in 2 weeks we'll be getting Benoit on a show. That could change due to scheduling and so forth, so we'll see, but that's what they said 2 weeks ago, so fingers crossed. You have a fist full of big ships, which I'd like to be put to use. Some years back, I tried a few orgs. It very much felt like it was just someone using the org to find a turret operator. Well, we're not like that. At the end of the day, you can you can come in and just do what you want to do. I'm not saying go off and do your own thing, using org expenses and whatnot. But what I mean is, if you don't want to be in a turret, don't be in a turret. You can help on the deck. You can help with flying. Like when we did this salvage operation, for example, you can either take out a reclaimer and we'll find you crew for it, or you can be crew on a reclaimer, or you can take out your Vulture or Fortune, or you can help out on the Idris, or provide security by flying around, helping out Mighty Steed, security officer, and just fill the roles that you want to fill. I don't think the org will ever become too big to manage. I think it'll just, as long as they give us the tools to handle it, it'll just be a 24-hour thing where there are... it might be a case of splitting into sort of divisions, but at the same time, we don't need that right now. We just get, at the most, we get like 30-odd people on in one session, and that's manageable, very manageable. It might be more a case of, right, well, this is a bit like what you would probably see with a motorcycle crew, where this is the Nyx chapter, this is the Terra chapter, and, upper echelons and myself will float between them and making sure they're all following the same sort of ideal, and all working together. But until we get to the point where we feel too big, then I don't know. Do I know much about the Merchantman? So if you own it, can people set up a shop? I think so. I think it's more likely that you will decide of the inventory for that shop, and then an NPC or a kiosk will man it for you, and it'll just all be sort of automated. I don't think it... I mean, it might be a case... I mean, you should be able to say to someone, bring your gear in, put it into the inventory in the Merchantman, and then you can have permission to set up that shop with your gear, and I don't know how the funneling of funds will work, but that would be kind of helpful. But we don't know until they design that kind of gameplay. Yo, Zeus, but I'm hoping so, mate. I'm hoping whatever the issues are that they cannot sort of fix in 4.2.1 right now will get fixed in 4.3. The freight elevators, I'm assuming you mean, yeah. They're not like... I don't think it's going to be a case of you set everything up in like on your own and then you stand there and wait for a customer. It's more likely just going to be a kiosk that... I mean, you could do that. I don't think there's going to be too many limitations to stop you from doing that if you wanted to, but it's more going to be automated so that you have your inventory, you decide what gets displayed on the shelves, probably automatically if you don't want to hand place it. The kiosk in there is where they can go and browse what they've got, and then they buy it, it gets put into their inventory, or they can grab it, and then you get paid. Because you've got to think about theft and handling that, and in a ship, with that role, it'll be automated. That's not to say that you can't build a shack and make it a shop, and people can come in. Like, that's how we do our trade posts. A lot of it is just based on trust. You have a Reclaimer, you have a Perseus, you have an Odyssey, you have an Asgard. I will eventually have a Star Lancer build, and it's melted. But I'll have an Apollo. Well, at the end of the day, if you wanted to bring your Reclaimer, for example, we could find crew to help man it. Maybe have people learning it for the first time, and it's a shared thing where you can be paid for it. You don't just earn what you earn and take all that yourself. It all goes into the org bank, and then it gets split between whoever showed up that day, once it's been processed. So if it's mined goods, it needs to be refined and sold. If it's salvaged goods, it needs to be sold. And then you can tick up after the event on a post on Discord whether you want to be paid or if you want it to go to the org funds. Some people want to be paid, some people want it to be filtered in. You will get a share, and it's entirely up to you. So you can just and obviously we will cater for like running costs and so forth. But it's a more just casual, serious fun, if that makes sense. Yeah, dividing the spoils as such. Empty welcome. I mean, at the end of the day, we have an org bank as such, known as Deacon, and I am more than happy for people who provide a ship for a service that is going into an org operation to have running costs paid for. So what we earn is divided and shared, but if you bring a ship and it gets damaged, needs repair, needs fuel, then of course request and it can be paid for. We need obviously a much better process of managing that, and they'll bring that out with the org stuff, but right now it is more of a, if you request it, you'll get it. But it's all done like manually at the moment. Yeah, we all make sure that we set our spawn on the Idris. That's all right, Metal. You can crew up. I mean, if you've only got a Mustang Alpha, if you want to join us on a salvage op, we often have spare, either mining, salvaging. We often have spare ships to loan to players to use if they're wanting to learn it for the first time. So mining, you might be able to get your hands on a Prospector or a Golem and go out and try that. Or if you want to, if we're doing salvaging, we might have a spare Vulture or Fortune that you can hop into and learn the ropes. We have people who are very well versed in all manner of different Star Citizen things who can show you the ropes. Yeah, exactly, subpar. Like, running as the org, you can earn money. At the moment, it's probably quicker and easier just to go out on your own and do it all solo and make millions. But at the same time, we go out together, we provide security for each other, we have a lot of fun together, and you earn while doing it. And it also helps fund the org bank to help with running costs and any mishaps and whatever that happens along the way. I still have my Aurora LX from 2013. I'm never getting rid of it. Anyway, that is me done for the day. I will be back on Friday. Unless Summer is too poorly, which we'll see how she gets on, poor thing. Her temperature's going up again for bedtime. So we're supposed to be meeting family who are also bringing a toddler. So if Summer's not in a good place, you know, health-wise, we certainly won't be going out. So it might be stream on Wednesday. But as it stands right now, no stream Wednesday, but there is a stream on Friday. Yeah, hot dogs. We provide hot dogs. Oh, there's often... You go to the mess room on the Revenant Idris, and Deacon has set up a box with food and drink in there for anyone who needs it. Just make sure you put your empties in the recycling bin. Don't drop it on the floor. Don't know how many times we have to say this. Oh, you've got it as a buyback, have you? Oh, I don't think I could do it. I want to have my Aurora LX in my main home under a tarp forever. Probably won't fly it. Although I'm planning to jump in it when engineering comes in. I've always in my head planned on my Aurora being the first ship I get into when engineering is in, because it is going to be super simple, straightforward, single, you know, components. Quantum bomb video, yeah. Take note, sweetheart. We need that quantum bomb. But yeah, I'll see you all on Friday. Yeah, I do. The Night Rider. The Aurora is, I don't know what it is. It's just one of those ships that I absolutely adore. The look of, the way that it handles. It's just such a cool little ship. And it's been my first ship and only ship before I started making content. Right, let me pass the stream on to somebody else. Let me find who is live. Oh, pardon me. Who have we got? But yeah, you're all more than welcome to join the org. And if it's not a good fit for you, that's fine. Don't worry about it. It's worth trying. But I think most people will enjoy what we get up to. Take it you're not streaming, are you, APOC? We've got Daily Noob. We've got Boozero. Although he's German, I think, isn't he? Or Dutch. I tend to try and pass them on to English speakers, although most of them tend to be. Kiosa. We can send it Kiosa's way. I haven't raided him yet. Did he raid us the other day? What about Kiosa, Sandman? What do you think about that? I think we should maybe send it his way. It was Kiosa that raided us, wasn't it? So let's head it his way. APOC, you're not live, are you? If APOC's live, we'll send it to him. /raid. I almost spelled that wrong from the offset. Oh, is it tomorrow? Okay. Sleepy time. Okay, there we go. We've got it going. For those on YouTube, we're sending it to Kiosa on Twitch. I don't have a way of raiding on YouTube, so unfortunately, it'll just end for you guys. But check out my latest video, which is talking about all the core gameplay elements that they have been working on from the monthly report. Definitely worth watching. We didn't really get a chance to go through it that much today. But yeah, back on Friday doing the org salvage group thing. So if you are, you know, on the fence about joining the org, you can at least see what it is we get up to. Or just watch some of my previous VODs where we do org ops. There is so many where we get into so much fun. Oh, man. Yo, Ferg, how you doing? I've got a real sweaty head now. I'm going to go eat. I'm actually starting my phase 3 of my calisthenics thing as well today, which is using rings. That's going to be fun. Right, I'll see you all on Friday. Have a great evening. And hopefully by then we'll have some information about Vulcan. Juicy Vulcan.